Bah Hashem family, Shabbat Shalom. How y'all feeling? Today I just want to get into First Kings and Second Kings. It's very important. I think we want to get into the kings of Israel and Judah. We know First Kings and Second Kings cover David and Solomon, but it also covers after Israel had broke apart, right? After Israel, the northern tribes had refused to worship any descendant of David, right? So and so they broke apart through Jeroboam, and I just want to break down that because I don't know if we really paid attention, but in those two chapters, man, we have about 40 kings of Israel. All right, and 40 kings. Some of them that would prophesy good, some of them that would prophesy evil. All right, and so we got 20 kings that was in the southern tribe of Judah, and then we got about 19 kings for the tribe of Israel. And I just want to break it down to those characters, man, because we correlate that in our times of our American atrocities. We correlate that in the time of our with our tribes in the Amaru Khans in this continent, and so it's a big thing that we just get an overstanding, because remember what we say, Israel was given the law. This is our book, that we give a understanding about a little more about the scriptures, so we could in the end of the day, it's put the this what you call this Old and this New Testament, together as one book, and we call it the Torah, to get an understanding. So we have gotten a lot of information and a lot of knowledge about our past and what went on, and so much information about our Creator. And so now we go back. We've been to the Biblioteca Colombina. We discovered books in the ancient Spain, and we discovered books in ancient Americas over the Grand Canyons, and we read books about the ancient Jerusalem and the ancient even the Quetzalcoatlus in the South Americas. And so what we do is we put that together, and then we come back to this law. We come back to this law to be able to live in the prophecy, to not only prophesy to our people. And so what I want to show you is just how, because the most important thing about us is our ruach. So what I want to show you is, and we're going to go through it too, real descriptively, of the First Kings and Second Kings, and then Chronicles, and First and Second Chronicles is just a rendition of a more descriptive of what happened in First and Second Kings. So it starts off with David, even at the end of Second Samuel, and we want to talk about Second Samuel 24 before we get into it, because I want to talk about this census. We got a federal government 2020 census coming up, and I just want to share some light on our intentions and our information, because what we always do is we go back to the scripture. And so that's the thing about Israel, that's the thing about Judah, being able to go back to the scriptures to get the answers of everything. And so we're going to need the New Testament to be able to do that. And that's what I'm trying to get y'all to understand, that that when we speak this name, when we speak this name of our Creator, and when we also speak the name of our seed, this lineage, this seed, that it's very important that we show sovereignty to the seed. Okay, and it's very important. People ask a lot, like, well, you throw me off with the Jesus Christ because of what we learned through the enemy of this Jesus Christ, or what we learned through Esau. through Esau of a Jesus Christ. But now we going back from all the information that we gathered. Now we going back to the law and understanding. We understanding Christ through a different lens. Okay, and not the same Christ we were talking about. We're understanding the one who they're hiding. Okay, through your lineage, your descendant, the one who they're hiding, your descendants are who they're hiding. You have to understand that. Not are they only hiding someone within our lineage. They're hiding our whole lineage. That's why they're calling it the lost tribes. Okay, and not letting it know that's you, and not letting it know about your power. Now, when we get into those deep powers we talking about, that's when we get into the dragonology. Okay, when we talking about those deep powers of Joshua showing up all through the Torah, that's when we talk about your dragonology. When we talking about when we talking about a whirlwind, or when we talking about a cloud, okay, that's when we talking about your dragonology. When we talk about the tent of meetings, that's when we talk about your dragonology, and we'll get into that. And your angels, and your we'll get into that. But so yeah, these 20 kings, man, of Judah. Through this line, the promise. Now this was the covenant, this was the promise through these kings. Now all these kings were in the line of David. These were the sons of David. These were the sons of Jesse. Okay, the sons of Jesse. Joshua, the son of Nun. Alright, Jesse and Nun meaning the same thing. Okay, and that's who we want to try to correlate this Joshua, and correlate this Joshua, son of Nun, is the same as what we say Jesus Christ. So when you talk about Esau, when you talk about your enemy, or you talk about, the disagreeable, that's when they're trying to hide this Joshua, son of Nun. Okay, they're trying to hide this Joshua, son of Nun in the New Testament. Okay, so, we could say that, but we could talk about the hijack, but we could talk about, the hijack in every book. You understand? So we have to just get the, like we say, get the food out. We hungry, we starving, man. So now we have enough intelligence to go back into the New Testament and seek our Joshua. Seek our Joshua, son of Nun, out of the New Testament. Okay? That has to be the most important thing. We have to seek our Joshua, son of Nun, out of the New Testament. And when we talk about that, what we're doing, we're talking about that Exodus 33 and 8. Okay, if you can, matter of fact, let's just pull out the swords right now. Right now. We don't have to wait on it. I hope y'all like the fire. Hope y'all like the fire. It's going down. Shalom to all my kinfolk. Shalom to all my Shabbatai. Hope y'all like that fire. The water a little still today, this evening, but it's okay. The water is a little still. It's not moving, but it's okay. Because, still water, still flow. Right? Still water, still flow, man. There's some stuff still going on. Understand that. We see we got a little movement. As you can see, we got a little movement. We're just out here chilling. Hope y'all like it. But let's get that sword out. Let's get the sword out. Yeah, man, we just got the Enoch fixed too. Enoch, I'm talking about the laptop. So you don't have to worry about that Windows icon in the bottom of the screen no longer. Just got the new program, so we up and running. So excuse me for the delay. Alright, but shit, we just getting it back today, and we just getting it on. We just getting it on and popping. We couldn't wait. So, but let's go over to what did I want to talk about? The before we get into the 2nd Samuel and then the Chronicles, I wanted to get into the Exodus 33, man, and we got all night. We might be a couple hours. You know what I'm saying? Because I want you to be able to go back. I want us to be able to go back to this at any point, 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours into it, and see what it do. So, but let's go to Exodus 33 and 8. I'm looking for some food, so we'll get it out of there real quick. 33 and 8. Because you got to understand that when we talk about this Ruach, man, you know, this Ruach, you know, it travels, you know, in and out of us on a daily basis to prophesy. Like when you got to connect this Ruach to us all over the Americas. When you talk about the Mayan Tunima, you know, prophesying and being a Messiah over in your Long Islands, in your Virginias, in your Massachusetts, you know. And then when you talk about your Tenskawatawa with Tukamesh, you know, as being your Moshe as you can imagine, being over in your Indiana territories, you know, over here, you know. So and then you can go all the way to South America, and you know, we prophesying over there with, you know, Quetzalcoatl, you know, and the Aztecs. So you know, throughout times you can see that, you know, the Most High is going to put our people in place. You know, that's why this line is so precious, and that's why the tribes are so precious, because that soul comes through that, it generates through that light. All right, of these 12 tribes. All right, and Judah being, you know, the most important, because Judah is the one that done the most work, that put in the most work for the Most High. All right, so Judah was promised a special promise. That's why the Messiah has to come through Judah. In a sense, the Messiah has to come through the line of Judah. All right, because it was so important. All right, and when we talk about this Messiah coming through Judah, we talking about a people of prophets, a seed, a son. All right, a son of the Creator, and that's exactly what we are, a son of the Creator. All right, so let's get over to Exodus 33 and 8, so we can, you know, get this bird's eye view of what we're talking about. Hope y'all doing good out there, man. You know, we got snow here, which is crazy, but you know, we never worried. You know, for the Most High is always in control. So when we get on to 37 and 8, or 33 and 7, we're talking about the tent of meeting. Right? The tent of meeting. Let me get there real quick. We're talking about the tent of meeting, where not just Moses was in that tent. Alright? And some miraculous things will happen, and that's when we're talking about that cloud of smoke. Alright, but that cloud of smoke is really fire. Okay, those whirlwinds are really fire. Okay, fire in Hawa, meaning not just Hawa, not the whole spirit of Hawa, the congregation, the angels, and everything, the dragoons. So let's get down to 33 and 7 when it starts talking about it. It says and Moses took the tabernacle and pitched it without the camp, afar off. Okay, as the Israelites were watching this, were being witness to this from the camp, and called it the tabernacle of congregation. This is the tent of meetings. Okay, and it came past to everyone which sought the Hawa. It came to everyone which sought the Lord. Hawa went out into the tabernacle of the congregation, which was without the camp. And it came to pass, when Moshe went out into the tabernacle that all the people rose up and stood, every man at his tent door, and looked after Moses until he was gone into the tabernacle. And it came to pass, as Moses entered into the tabernacle, the cloudy pillar descended. Okay, the cloudy pillar descended. Now that's what we're talking about. We're talking about that cloudy pillar, that whirlwind, that fire. Okay, pillar descended and stood at the door of the tabernacle, and the Lord Hawah talked with Moses. And all the people saw the cloudy pillar stand at the tabernacle door, and all the people rose up and worshipped, every man in his tent floor. Okay, and Hawah, the Lord, spoke unto Moshe, face to face. Okay, as a man speaketh unto his friend. Okay, and he turned again into the camp, but his servant. All right, when he said he turned again to the camp, into the camp. All right, so that means Moses went out. Okay, Moses went out, and his servant Joshua, the son of Nun, a young man, departed not out of the tabernacle. All right, so that means he was not out of the tabernacle, he was in the tabernacle. All right, so what that's saying is that basically Moses had went out in the tabernacle. Moses left the tent with the Most High and his angels, and left was Joshua the son of Nun. So it tells you that in Exodus 33, the importance of this Joshua son of Nun. Okay, so in the NLT it gives a clearer version where I'm gonna just read it for you. It said, whenever Moses went out into the tent of the meeting, all the people would get up and stand in the entrance of their own tents. They would all watch Moses until he disappeared inside. As he went into the tent, the pillar of cloud, okay, the pillar of cloud would come down and hover at its entrance while the Lord spoke with Moses. When the people saw the cloud standing at the entrance of the tent, they would stand and bow down in front of their own tents. Inside the tent of meeting, Hawah would speak to Moses face to face as one speaks to a friend. Afterwards, Moshe would return to the camp, but the young man who assisted him, Joshua, son of Nun. Okay, remember Joshua, son of Nun, ministered to Moses. All right, and he called him Joshua, Hosea, and Josiah. All right. Joshua, son of Nun, will remain behind in the tent of meetings. Okay, now what was he doing? All right, he was doing the same thing that Moshe was doing. All right, so if you go down to 14, and it gives you a better description of what's going on, because Moses sees Hawah's glory. All right, so it says that if we go down to 14, the Lord replied. All right, so they were talking about one day Moses said to the Lord, you've been telling me take these people up to the promised land, but you haven't told me whom you will send with me. Okay, you have told me I know you by name, and I look favorable on you. If it's true that you look favorable on me, let me know your ways so I may understand you more fully and continue to enjoy your favor. And remember that this nation is your very own people. Okay, he said that in starting at 12, right? He told him that the nation is his very own people. All right, he found grace. All right, he found grace in my sight. All right. So at 13, now therefore I pray thee. All right. So if it's true, all right, like he said, these are your very own people. So in 14, the Lord replied, I will personally go with you, Moses. All right. He told him, I will personally go with you and I will give you rest. Okay. Everything will be fine for you. All right. So he told him, I will personally go with you and I will give you rest. So meaning when Joshua son of Nun went in, he's saying I was personally with Moses. All right. So we could see how, you know, Hawa has a plan that we don't understand. That this power, power of the Judean people will be a power not understandable by the people. That's why you reject any seed of David. All right, and we'll get into that because we reject any seed of David. And as you can see through these 20 kings of Judah, we rejected every one. And what was most powerful about the Most High is that he implemented 5 kings from the line of Judah into prophecy, into the kings of Israel of the northern tribe, because the Israelite kings were worshiping so many idols. Okay, so when he started to Jehu, he had to prophesy for Jehu. Jehu was very important to Israelite and the Israelite Israelite tribes, because he also was very important into a prophecy. Okay, and that's what I also another thing that I want us to see, because we could see within these 2 chapters, man, we having 40 kings, 20 of Judah, 20 of the northern tribe Israel, right? But then we having how many prophets, or what we call in those days seers. All right, seers. We call them seers, or man of the Most High, man of the Creator. Okay, these days they say in the Bible like man of God. Okay, from the Greek's translation, but we talking about in our days. All right, so man of the Creator, man of the Most High, man of Hawa. All right, and how many of those we had in Kings, 1 Kings and 2 Kings? We had probably about 6 of them. You know, started from Nathan the prophet, was there with Samuel. Nathan the prophet was there with Samuel, was a boy, so starting with David was Nathan the prophet. Okay, and he anointed also Solomon. All right, and then we had Ahiah the prophet, who anointed Jeroboam. We had Shemaiah the prophet, who anointed Rehoboam. And we remember we also had a prophet, which we'll get into also, who prophesied the birth of Josiah, all right, from the dynasty of David. All right, and then we'll get into what this prophecy of Josiah was about too, because he was about destroying a whole patriarch of what was that, Ahiah's. All right, so we'll get into that, and this prophet Jehu, you know, who also would destroy the king of Israel, Baasha, and his whole descendants. All right, and Elijah, which is many important too, and how Elijah, the prophet Elijah, performed so many miraculous miracles, bringing the dead, you know, raising the dead, bringing our descendants back from the dead. He was prophesied food. He did so many miraculous miracles, saved a lot of lives. And so we want to get into that, because then we can understand our Ruach, because that's what it's about. It's about understanding our Ruach, and how we could see that you know, that our capabilities. So we can see our capabilities. All right, so we're gonna get into these 40 presters, man. These 40 presters, man, and we can see how the Most High prophesied some miraculous things to happen, and how it was prophecy for everything that has happened to us, even the atrocities. Okay, and how our kingdom became desolate. Okay, in 1st and 2nd Kings, it became desolate to the Edomites. All right, and it was all prophecy. Okay, and we were in prison. Okay, and being in prison until the 36th year, where Jehoiakim could come home and help starting in the new temple. So the fight was always for Israel, and salvation is always for Israel, and the descendants of Judah, and that's all of Israel. Okay, and we have to come back as one. We have to come back as one, and this leadership will come through the descendants of Judah. All right, so don't get it twisted. So when you want to say leadership, Messiah, or whatever it is, but Baal Hashem. All right, Abba Hawa, Yahweh Shua, Hamashiach. All right, because what we're doing is incorporating the law, man. We're incorporating the law into the land, baby. That's what it's all about. You know, that's what it's all about. How we come back to the Creator with the law of Moses. All right, so how we come back. So we recognize our kingdom of Judah, and we recognize all our prophets. We show sovereignty to the ones who done good in the eye of the Creator. All right, and it's a beautiful thing. It's that beautiful. All right, it's that beautiful, and it's that simple. Once we mature with the mind and understand what's going on, it's not somebody prophesying for us. It's the fact that we have to prophesy. And that's the whole picture. And once we get understanding, so it's a beautiful thing what we have done, what God has done for us, including with the Drop Nation, 432 Nation, man, and that vibration, because that's where that vibration all entails. With that staying on above, man, and that frequency levels, man, because the frequency levels are so important when it comes to our day-to-day life. Because that's exactly what the enemy is using against us, is those frequencies, man. And so it's beautiful that Hawa has bestowed his prophecies and his miraculous miracles into us, and having us count these blessings at a day-to-day, and how we thriving up. It's a beautiful thing how we able to put trust in our people again, each other. You know, how we put trust in our people, you know, and each other, and we able to tribe up. It's a beautiful and overwhelming, joyous thing. Because once you get operated in the law, man, you get overstanding, man. You know, you get overstanding with your people and with your tribe. And it's something that you'll never turn your back on for nothing, you know, for nothing, because it comes to the law. You know, the Creator has built that, and so I never turn my back on my tribe, man. You best believe that. So we 432 up all day, man, and we rise in Israel, Judah, standing together in correctness in the law through the Hamashiach. All right, so we still on the hunt. We looking for our prester all day. But in the midst of that, man, in the midst of these fights, just best believe, like Mama told us when we were little kids, man, you know, we might get sidetracked. Or you might think another brother is sidetracked, but like Mama said, better yet, like Grandmama said, she said, man, if you out there at war, because remember, this is a constant war. This is a constant war against our enemy. A constant war, man. We've been tried on through our families. We've been tried on through our friends, our blood, our brothers. You know, it's a constant war, man. Trickery, you know, till it's so easy to play into the fuckery, because it's a constant gossip war. You know, he got grown men gossiping. He got everything. You know, everything is going on in Babylon, in Egypt. Okay, so and so just like Grandmama said, she said, man, when we out there with war, most important thing is remember your brother. You know what I'm saying? And if you feel like your brother is wrong, then you still help your brother fight. You know, you still help your brother fight, man, and then when it's over with, you pull your brother to the side and you tell him he wrong. You know, in so many words, man, he put that into Hawa put that in, you know, into the law, and that's how Grandmama perceived it with her own intuition, which was cool, because that was beautiful. Because you could tell your brother you wrong, but yet still you help your brother, man. You know, you help him survive. You help him. You help him build. So it's a beautiful thing, man, because that's what we're doing over at the 432 Drop Nation, man. So y'all get over there. But so I want to hit you over the head with this, man. So like we finishing off from that 10 of meetings. Okay, now we talking about in the Exodus 33, where actually where Moses is actually saying that over in 14, he said that the Most High said, "I will personally be with you." Okay, so when we talk about personally, that's what we're talking about, that Ruach. All right, we're talking about personally be with you. All right, over in 14, all right, he said, "I shall my presence." Okay, my presence. All right, my presence shall go with thee, and I will give thee rest, Moses. Okay, so understand, we're talking about that Ruach. We talking about that Joshua son of Nun when you in that New Testament and you know, reading that Jesus Christ. Because you got to go back to that and get your food out of there, man. It's your food. It's your food. You deserve it. You worked hard for it. You understand? It's you. That's we done dropped all the hijacks. We have dropped all the hijacks. So it shouldn't be a name here. It shouldn't be a name that you hear where you should be scared of. You understand that? There shouldn't be nothing that the children of Jacob should be scared of at this point. All right, if we totally understand our Ruach, because we have power that's fighting for us, man. You look up in the sky, you see those chariots, man. You understand that those chariots are not evil. All right, those are Hawa's chariots. All right, that's the Lord of the heavens armies, man. All right, that's Melchizedek, that's Michael and them. All right, that's Jesse. All right, understand that. So we have to embody all of this, man, especially the law. So we have to embody this and embody our beautiful prophets that did good in the sight of the Lord. And understand where we fail. So we want to get into that. All right, so all right, so we could go over the numbers 13 and 16, but we could say that for another day, where the different names and where this young priest was being called, this young prester was being called by different names, Josiah and Hosea and Joshua. But we just want to get into it. Let's get over to second Samuel. Excuse me, I got the hiccups. Let's get over to 2 Samuel real quick, man. Okay, 2 Samuel, last chapter. We go 24, because that's starting into the Kings. That's starting into Kings, where it's gonna talk about this census. I feel like it's real important, man. I feel like it's real important to talk about this census. All right. So let me get over there in the NLT. Alright. We're talking about David's census. Okay. David's census. Okay. And another thing we're going to get into is the line of David. Also how many wives he had. And even David being born, his mother, you know, of what line or descendant she was from. So we'll get into that also. But you can see, we'll be able to see Israel was doing a lot of things, man. But these kings still were being born, and everything was prophecy. So we're talking about David's census. And again, we're talking about David's census, taking a census. So we'll go over 24. David takes a census over in 24. that which actually angered the Lord. Okay, so when we talk about a census for the federal government, and I know a lot of us are saying we got two different hard views. Saying one saying is that we should take the census that's coming up in February 20th so we can be counted for, right? Because we feel like we haven't been accounted for, right? Take the census, but this time we're gonna put American Indian on the census so we can be recognized. And the federal government says, yeah, because that allocates money. That allocates money into the a fund, right? Into a trust for you guys, right? All right, so we can allocate monies to you, right? And then on the other hand, you got, well, you know, it's a contract. So what are we doing? You know, making contracts, all right, with someone who's trying to take account of us. Okay, so I think this will give us a better understanding, because like we said, we just go to the scriptures. We got to be able to go to our Torah for all the answers, right? All right, so David takes this census. So it says, once again, the anger of Hawah, all right, burned against Israel, and he caused David to harm them by taking the census. So you can see everything is prophecy, right? So he gonna punish David. He gonna punish Israel for this census, but he caused him to take the census. Okay, go and count the people of Israel and Judah. All right. Hold on one second. Of Israel and Judah, right? So the king said to Joab, all right, but first the Lord told him, right? So the king said to Joab and the commanders of the army, take a census of all the tribes of Israel from Dan to the northern tribes of Beersheba in the south, so I may know how many people there are. Right? So I may know how many people there are. But Joab replied to the king, may the Lord your God let you see 100 times as many people as there are now. But why, my lord the king, do you want to do this? All right, but he insisted, man, look, just go and take the census. All right, so when you get down to 8, so you can see now what type of census was this. Now this the same census that is that the federal government is doing. Okay, because what did they do in 8? In 8 it says, so when they had gone through all the land, they came to Jerusalem at the end of the 9 months and the 29 days. So it's showing you that it took them 9 months and 29 days, right? And 20 days to go through the land and count Israel and Judah, right? Having gone through the entire land for 9 months and 20 days, they returned home to Jerusalem. Joab reported the number of people to the king. There were 800,000 capable warriors in Israel who could handle a sword, and 500,000 in Judah. So combined, they're saying that it was 1.3 million. All right, so I don't want to get into the numbers as far as this being a metaphorical, a symbolic number, meaning that it was way more than that. Some report in the 100,000s. Okay, but it's the point of that, and even in this census, it wasn't all of the Israelites were not taken. Okay, Joab just said he did. Okay, so he didn't even take a census to all of them. So it's not the point of the number. The point is that a census was taken, a count was taken. Okay, and after that, then it'll be the Lord's judgment of David's sin. Okay, all right. So after that, his sin, for what he said, he begged. He said, he messed up by taking a census. Okay. So in 10 it says, and David's heart smote. All right, his heart smote. It died on him after that he had numbered the people. And David said unto Hawah, I have sinned greatly in that I have done, and now I beseech thee, O Lord, take away the iniquity of thy servant. for I have done very foolish. Okay, so he admits he had done very foolish. So that's, you know, that's something for us to grow on. You know, should you be should we be involved in the census coming up February 2020? I don't know, man. Let me know your reply on that. Let me know your reply on that. All right, let me know. So in return, man, because I'll just tell you what happened, and this is something to think about also, because I'll tell you what happened in result. Okay, in result. So let's go down to 11, because in result, all right, in result of this very census that was taken, a plague was put on Israel for that, and according to these numbers in the Torah, we lost 70,000 Israelites. Okay. So in 11 it says, the next morning the word of Hawal came to the prophet Gad, okay, who was David's seer. Okay, Gad was David's seer. Okay, his prophet. This was the message: go and say to David, this is what Hawal says: I will give thee three choices. Choose one of these punishments I will afflict on you. Okay, go and say to David, choose one of these punishments I may afflict on you. So Gad went to David and he asked him, will you choose three? All right, so David basically said, listen, all right, one of them was a plague by the enemy. He said, nah, man, I don't want the enemy or nobody else to be able to put hands on me. I just want the plague to come from the Creator. And so so the Lord sent the plague upon Israel that morning in 15. So the Lord sent a pestilence upon Israel from that morning until the time appointed. Okay. And there died of the people of Dan even to Beersheba 70,000 men. Okay, and when the angel stretched out, okay, then that angel, here comes that angel, that Ruach, here comes that angel. The angel, this time the angel of death. Alright, the angel of death. Okay, the Lord relented and said to the angel of death to stop. That's enough. And at that moment of the Lord was by the threshing of the floor of Aranuah, the Jebusite. All right, so that's where David had built the altar. All right, he had built the altar where the angel of death was causing all this harm to Israel. All right, so I don't know. So I mean, y'all let me know. Y'all let me know if y'all think that's something that we should drop, man. If we should get into that, because I mean, like I said, it's very, I don't know, man. It's very important that we understand what's going on and what times that we in. So, Baal Hashem and Eretz Yasharala. All right.
Thoughts of a young boy in a grown man's world. Thoughts of a sinner in a sinner's world.
Boy, sit down. Your mama got to do what she got to do now. What?
Just like my mama. Just like my mama. Take me to. Here I come, mama. Just like my mama. Just like my mama. I remember cold days when I was stuck in my room, staring at the ceiling, wondering will you come home soon. I lost my mind to the streets, but rather that than the tomb. I lost my pops from the blink after my heart left the womb. A lot of things I never said, and now I said and think out. Like how you leave me by myself when Uncle Joe was around. I stood there hoping, very hopeless, and I couldn't make a sound. Experimenting with experience, a problem to now, cause I'm letting go. You raised me right, Lil Corey Jr. Or maybe I'm my senior, cause my pops I never seen ya. See, Roger was my Joseph, I was supposed to be your Jesus. You far from a guy, so the references it needed. You planted to see the Beatles. What a lovely garden. Left me with the thunder. Where's your rocket, Mr. Harden? Or where's your happy ending? Cause I sure can't find mine. See, you can buy gifts, but you sure can't buy time. I wonder. like you. Give me.
Shalom. Shalom, people. Shalom. Shalom, prisoners of war. Shalom. Hey, that song is very relevant when we talk about mothers and fathers. For in the physical and spiritual, we haven't been accepted. In the past, we haven't been accepted by neither. You know, the relationship between Israel's mother and father and the children of Israel need to be repaired. Alright, and the only way to get to the Father, man, the only way to know your true Father is by knowing your mother. And your earthly mother, man, it's a beautiful thing, man. Your land, it's a beautiful thing. Your heaven, it's a beautiful thing. You must get back to heaven. It's a beautiful thing. Before we get into the topic of Wisconsin's mass incarceration of African Americans, right? Wisconsin prison incarcerates most black men in the U.S. Wisconsin prisons incarcerate most black men in the U.S. And they predominantly come from where? Where in the U.S.? Wisconsin, right? Where from Wisconsin? Exactly where we from, Milwaukee. Alright, Milwaukee. Milwaukee. The men in Milwaukee, they set up Wisconsin prisons just for us. Why? Now what Lil Corey was crying about in the song, what he was pleading about in the song, is just what led up to why. Alright, once you was kicked out of your land, kicked out of your heaven, you understand? You were in Babylon, you were in hell. And so with that, your enemy was right next to you. Where he was allowed, he was right next to us where he was allowed to cast the atrocities on us. So we want to get into 2 Kings. Before we get into 2 Kings, we want to get into 2 Kings right now. Alright, we want to go to 2 Kings right now. Hit you over the head with a couple Torah verses to get an understanding why Wisconsin prisons incarcerate most black men, and why prisons all over the United States and all over the world incarcerates black men. Alright, so let's go to 2 Kings. Let's go to 2 Kings. Alright, 2 Kings 16 and 5, man. We want to get into that. Alright, and this is during the reign of Ahaz, reigns in Judah, right? This is during the reign of Ahaz. Alright, but hold up, because I want to get into, yeah, that's about right. Okay, that's about right, because 16 and 5. Alright, I was looking over at 15, where it actually talked about the treaty. Okay, the treaty with Tiglath-Pileser, Mizraim, Tiglath-Pileser of Assyria, okay, invaded the land, but Menahem paid him 37 tons of silver to gain his support in tightening his grip on the royal power. Okay, Menahem extorted money from the rich of Israel, demanded that each of them pay 50 pieces of silver to the king of Assyria. So the king of Assyria turned from attacking Israel and did not stay in the land at that part. All right, at that part. But that started off the treaty. All right, the treaty with Tiglath-Pileser. All right. So we talking about the king of Assyria. All right, our king Menahem paid 70 tons of silver to gain his support, right? His support. To gain his support, all right, against Israel. All right, against Israel. All right, so he paid him 70 tons of silver to gain his support, to tighten up the grip on the royal power. All right, on the royal power. Menahem extorted the money from the rich of Israel, demanding that each of them pay 50 pieces of silver to the king of Syria. So the king of Syria turned from attacking Israel and did not stay in the land. All right. Now, when you go down to 16 and 5, excuse me. Now, 16 and 5 it'll show you how Edom was drove out of the land. I mean, how Edom drove us out of the land, drove Judah. All right, in the end. One second. Okay, let's go to 16 and 5. Let me drink some water real quick. Alright, 16 and 5 is right here. So it says, then King Rezin of Aram and King Pekah of Israel. Alright, so you had King Rezin of Aram, right? The Arameans, right? So that was Edom. Alright, and then you had King Pekah of Israel, right? So there you have Edom and Israel joining together as a treaty, okay, against Judah. They besieged Ahaz, all right, they besieged Ahaz, but could not conquer him, all right, could not conquer him. Why they couldn't conquer him? At that time, king of Edom recovered the town of Elath for Edom. Okay, he drove out the people of Judah and sent Edomites to live there, okay, as they do to this day. All right, as they do to this day. So Edom is in Elath to this day. All right, because Judah was drove out. All right, but the crazy part is King Ahaz sent messengers to King Tiglath-Pileser of Assyria with this message: I am your servant, your vessel. I am your servant, your vassal. Alright? I am your servant, your vassal. Alright? So what that means, I am thy servant and thy son. Alright? But he is his vassal. He told him he is his vassal. And what vassal means is a holder of land. Okay? A holder of land. He is a holder of land. So what he's basically saying to the king of Assyria, Tiglath-Pileser, or we call Genghis Khan, is the fact that come rescue me from my brothers, Edom and Israel. Okay? This is Judah asking Tiglath-Pileser to come rescue him, and I'll give you all the land. I'm holding your land. You could come have the land. Come up and rescue me from the armies attacking of Aram and Israel. Okay? Of Aram and Israel. Alright? Then Ahaz took the silver and gold from the temple, all our silver and gold from the temple of the Lord and the palace treasury, and sent it as a payment to the Assyrian king. Okay? So the king of Assyria attacked our main capital of Damascus and led his population away as captives, resettled them in Kir. He also killed King Rezin. Alright? So as you can see, what I'm trying to display is the fact that we are actually the ones first of all, in the beginning of more and more battle, we are actually the ones who called on other nations to make treaties with us to come help us fight against each other. Okay? In our own lands. And so therefore, it was prophecy that we be exiled from our lands, okay, into Babylon, into the cities where we are now, okay, into the cities where we are now, okay. And so we have to understand that Babylon could be anywhere. It's an energy, okay. So the scriptures state where you went, but where you went is many places called the same thing, like Babylon. So therefore, you were just sipped out of your city into other cities near you, Babylonian cities, meaning that cities that worship idols. Okay, so this happened in your land. You were moved out of your land into other areas of your land, but they were controlled by other nations, okay, here in America. And you also were moved across the waters, okay, to a Babylonian nation. Okay, so it happened all the way around the board. Okay, so you can't leave one without the other. It happened all the way around the board. Okay, and so now that leads to what's happening today. All right, because your enemy, Edom, your enemies are not allowing you to come back to your Creator. Well, it's not that they're allowing you, they're just using trickery. All right, they're just using trickery so you don't come back to your Creator and His holy commandments and His statutes. Okay, and to accept your people. All right. See, they want us to continue fighting. All right, so they can win. You have to understand that they want us to continue fighting with each other, Israel and Judah, so they can win. You have to understand that. We have to understand that now we're at a point where we have to come back to the Father. Okay, all of us, Israel and Judah, and be together. All right, be together through the teachings of the Hamashiach, through the teachings of the Most High. All right, so that's the most important thing. And before we get into this video, we just want to get into a couple other verses. Okay, so now we see where Edom drove out Judah, right? Edom drove out Judah, and they still live there today, right? Edom conquered Judah in 2 Kings 16 in the rule of Ahaz, right? So, and we can also see over in, let me see, that's 15. We can also see over in 15, if you go down to 27. All right, let's go down to 27. Zechariah reigns in Israel. Shalom reigns in Israel. Menahem reigns in Israel. Okay, now this is separate from Judah. Okay, so the conquering of Israel happened before Judah. Okay, so when we get down to 27, okay, Pekahiah reigns in Israel. Okay, Pekah reigns in Israel. Okay, so in the reign of Pekah, okay, in 27, it says, Pekah son of Remaliah began to rule over Israel in the 52nd year of King Uzziah's reign of Judah. Okay, he reigned in Samaria 27 years. But Pekah did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. He refused to turn from the sins of Jeroboam. So during Pekah's reign, Tiglath-Pileser of Assyria, Okay, 29. Okay, Tiglath-Pileser of Assyria attacked Israel again, and he captured the towns of Ion, okay, Ijon, Ebel, Beth, Makkah, okay, Janoah, Kadesh, and Hazar. He also conquered the regions of Galilee, and all of Naphtali. He took the people of Assyria. All right, he took the people to Assyria as captives. Okay, so he took them in another lands led by other nations. Okay, so he took the people of all these lands to Assyria as captives. Okay, now this was before, and so what he done. All right, what he done. All right, what he done, and we'll go to 2K17. All right, let's go to 2 Kings 17 and 24. All right, 17 and 24. All right, and we could show you. I'll show you what he done real quick. 17 and 24. I'm gonna have to hit this button right here. Okay, Assyria resettles Samaria. Okay, and so what he done, putting these foreigners, sellers in Israel. Okay, let me see if I can find that, and we'll do that. At 24. All right. So at 24 it says the king of Assyria, right? The king of Assyria, all right, transported groups of people from Babylon, all right, from Babylon, Cutha, Ava, Hamath, and Seraphim, and resettled them in the towns of Samaria. Okay, so now what we have to see is that a resettlement? And now I got to read more descriptively now. When they say resettle, now is that saying that they came from there? Okay, they came from there. Alright, after being exiled already and learning the ways of the heathen, then coming back and reselling, and then, or is it the fact that these were other descendants, the other descendants of other nations? Okay, the king of Assyria transported groups from Babylon, Cutha, Ava, Hamath, and Seraphim, alright, Sepharvim, and resettled them in the towns of Samaria, replacing the peoples of Israel. Alright, so let's see. Alright, a foreign diversion of Seraphim place in Assyria. Okay, a place in Assyria. Alright, in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. Okay, instead of the children of Israel. So either way, these were not the children of Israel, and they possessed Samaria and dealt in the cities thereof. Okay, so the king of Assyria transported groups of people from Babylon, Cutha, Ava, Hamath, and Seraphim, and resettled them in the towns of Samaria, replacing the people of Israel. They took possession of Samaria and lived in its towns. But since these foreign settlers did not worship the Lord when they first arrived, the Lord sent lions among them, which killed some of them. Okay, and then they had to send Israel. They had to send priests of Israel to come and teach them to live in the land with them. Okay, so understand that. One, you were kicked out of Israel. You were kicked out of your heaven. Okay, so when it talks about the dragon in Revelation 12. When it talks about the dragon being kicked out of heaven, that's you. That you are the dragon that it's talking about. Okay, because of how we cast wars on each other and use other nations to come in and help with us to kill the patriarchs in our own families. Okay, against Judah and Israel. So therefore, the people just wanted peace. The people prayed for peace, man. You have to understand that. And against our own selves. Okay, and so that's the aftermath. What's happening now is the aftermath of what's happened in the past. You know, us losing everything, and I'll get to why, right? I'll get to why, but I want to get to I'll get to why. Oh, and we talk about, yeah, let's talk about the temple being destroyed. Okay, and then we're gonna get into Professor Heather Ann Thompson, where she's breaking down some statistics of the children of Judah and Israel in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, being targeted. Okay, being targeted as prisoners because of your enemy. Your enemy don't want you to come back home to the Father, so you don't get back into heaven. You get it? You don't get back into your land where you were cast out of. You understand? You get it? Let me see. So we'll talk about. Let's go down to 2 Kings. Well, no, we just keep it going in a row. All right. Now we'll get down to 2 Kings. All right. 2 Kings 25:8. We just gonna you know, going all over the place. Let's go to 2 Kings 25:8 and 12. All right. 2 Kings 25:8 and 12. Second Kings 25:8 and 12. Let me go there in the NLT. Alright, 2 Kings 25:8 and 12. Okay, this is Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon. Okay, 25:8 and 12. Alright, so now this is when the actual temple was destroyed. Okay, now this would be the temple of Solomon. Okay, this one, Solomon's temple, was actually destroyed. The temple was destroyed on August 14th. Let me see. Let's go down to 8. Okay, so it says on the 5th month of the 7th day of the month, which is the 19th year. All right. In the NLT it says on August 14th of that year, okay, which was the 9th year of King Nebuchadnezzar's reign. Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, okay, the captain of the guard and the official of the Babylonians king. Alright, right here. Alright, Nebuzaradan, a foreign origin. Okay, foreign origin, a Babylonian general. Okay, a foreign origin. So you remember where he said they made foreigners captains over their armies. Okay, so King of Babylon arrived in Jerusalem. He burned down the temple of the Lord. So when he arrived in Jerusalem, he burned down. Now this is after this is after the Judean. This is after Judah's going to captivity. All right, this is after Judah's exile, after Judah going to prison. Okay, and is killed. Okay, so then it lets us know. Well, we'll touch on a topic where so king official of the Babylon king arrived in Jerusalem. He burned down the temple of the Lord, okay, Hawa, the royal place, the royal palace, and all the houses of Jerusalem. He destroyed all the important buildings in the city. Then he supervised the entire Babylonian army as they tore down the walls of Jerusalem on every side. Okay, Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, remember the foreigner, they took as exiles the rest of the people who remained in the city. Okay, they took the rest of the people who remained in the city, the defectors who had declared their allegiance to the king of Babylon, and the rest of the population. But the captain of the guard allowed some of the poorest people to stay behind in Judah to care for the vineyards in the fields. Okay, So now that's when you get into your story, like the South Carolina stories, where you got from the tribe of you got what's this professor name from the tribe of from the Yuchi tribe in North Carolina, and where he's talking about how his granddad and granddad, you know, they say we never been to Africa, okay, we were always from here, and when we were invaded, we got to keep land, okay, they got to keep land because why? They got to keep land while the rest of the Israelites in Judah were what? Were castrated out, right? Castrated out. The land was took, right? And they had to submit to the will of Christ, right? So therefore, so they got to keep land, which they have signatures and everything, because they submitted to the will of Christ, right? Because of why? Because why? All right, because of prophecy, right? So therefore, but the captain of the guard allows some of the poorest people to stay behind in Judah to care for the vineyards and the fields. All right, so and this reason why, and don't get mixed up in the translation. All right, don't get mixed up in the translation. Okay, when we talk about Joshua son of Nun, when we talk about now that's who they were supposed to be submitting to. All right, now if they got lost in the translation, which they did, which our people did get lost in the translation, but it was a forced lost translation. We were forced to serve this foreign God. Understand that we were forced to serve this foreign God by the teachings and by the forced teachings. Okay, so only the strong ones were able to understand and follow the kingdom. Okay, because just because the kingdom fell at this point, okay, our Father, our Creator, still resurrected the kingdom while we were in slavery. Okay, so understand that. All right, and we'll get into that. That's at a later time. That's in a later time. All right, so give me a second. All right, so now if you go down to 18, and this will give you a more principle balance of what happened. Let's go down to 18. Okay, so 18, Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, took with him as prisoners Zariah, the high priest, all right, Zephaniah, the priest of the second rank, and 3 chief gatekeepers, all right, and from among the people still hiding in the city, he took an officer who had been in charge of the Judean army, 5 of the king's personal advisors, the army's commander's chief secretary, who was in charge of the recruitment, and 60 other citizens. Okay, Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, took them all to the king of Babylon at Riblah, and there at Riblah, in the land of Hamath, the king of Babylon, right, had them all put to death. So the people of Judah were sent into exile from their land. All right, from their land. Okay, and then the Syrian king appoints. Okay, the king appoints Gedaliah son of Hiakim and grandson of Shaphan as governor over the people he had left in Judah. All right, because this was all prophecy. Okay, and then you know, they're trying to be a hope for Israel's blood, so a hope for Israel's royal line, and the hopes for Judah royal line. Okay, so then all the people of Judah, right? So once he elected Gad, all right. Once he elected Gedaliah, if you go down to 25, right? So because Gedaliah vowed to the Babylonians, all right. So he vowed to idol worship once they put him over king of Judah, right? So you go down to 25, and I'll show you what just happened. Okay, Gedaliah is made governor of Judah, right? After they just killed all the priests and governors in Judah, right? So at 25, but in mid-autumn, okay, hold up. when we go down to 25. But in mid-autumn of that year, Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, right? Nethaniah, all right, the grandson of Elishama, all right, who was of royal family of Edom, okay? This is Ishmael of Edom, went to Mizpah with 10 men and killed Gedaliah, okay? He killed Gedaliah, the king of Judah, who Assyria put in. All right, he also killed all the Judeans and Babylonians who were with Gedaliah at Mizpah. Then all the people of Judah from the least to the greatest, as well as the army commanders, fled in panic to Egypt, for they were afraid of what the Babylonians would do to them. Okay, so this is Ishmael going on a killing rampage of Israel. All right, so you can see that. So you can go through Chronicles with that, but now we want to get into, alright, so now we want to get into why the exile, why we were killed, why we were going to prison, why we were set in prison, the kings were put in prison, we were prisoners. Okay, let's go, now we want to go up to, chapter 13. 2 Kings chapter 13. No, chapter 17. Sorry, let's go to chapter 17. Okay, 2 Kings 17, 13 to 18. Okay, the fall of Israel. Well, let's go down to 17 and 13 right here. 13. 17, let me see, 2 Kings 13 and 18. 17. I'm in the NLT, so give me a second. Find it real quick. Okay. Now this was basically while Hoshea's ruled in Egypt, right? Okay, Samaria falls to Assyria, but this was basically in 13, the last warning, okay, from the Most High. This was basically the last warning. So it says, again and again, Hawah has sent his prophets and seers to warn both Israel and Judah. Okay, it says, again and again, Hawah has sent his prophets and seers to warn both Israel and Judah. Turn from all your evil ways. Obey my commands and decrees. The entire law that I commanded your ancestors to obey, and that I gave you through my servants and prophets. Okay? But Israel would not listen. They were as stubborn as their ancestors who had refused to believe in their Lord, Hawah. They rejected his decrees and the covenant he had made with their ancestors, and they despised all his warnings. They worshiped worthless idols, so they became worthless themselves. They followed the examples of other nations around them, disobeying the Lord's commands not to imitate them. All right, we want to get into that, man, when it's talking about the other nations that were so close around them. Okay. They rejected all the commands of Hawah, their God, and made 2 calves from metal. They set up an Asherah pole and worshiped Baal and all the forces of heaven. They even sacrificed their own sons and daughters in the fire. They consulted fortune telling and practiced sorcery and sold themselves to evil, arousing the Lord's anger. Because Hawah was very angry with Israel, he swept them away from his presence. Okay, down in 18. Okay, he swept them away from his presence. Only the tribe of Judah remained in the land, but the people of Judah refused to obey the commands of Hawah their God, for they followed the evil practices that Israel had introduced. Okay, so the Lord rejected all the descendants of Israel. He punished them by handing them over to their attackers until he had banished Israel from his presence. Okay, from his presence. Alright, for when Hawah tore Israel away from the kingdom of David, All right. They chose Jeroboam, son of Nebat, as their king. But Jeroboam drew Israel away from following Hawa and made them commit a great sin. And the people of Israel persisted in all the evil ways of Jeroboam. All right. And that's how it began again. Okay, so the temple being destroyed. So now I want to talk about, so like during this invasion where we speak, let's go down to 2 Kings 20, 16 and 21. All right, now this is, let me just go to it. 2 Kings 21. All right, 20. 2 Kings 20. All right, 16 and 21. All right. No, I'm sorry. 2 Kings 20. 2 Kings 20, 16 to 21. Let's go down to 16. 16 to 21. Okay, now we start up at 16, where it talks about Judah will be carried off to Assyria, right? But we also want to talk about how Judah will become eunuchs, right? So once Judah is carried off, they'll become eunuchs. Now, eunuchs can mean two things, right? Eunuchs can mean what some of our slave captors done. They made a bad word of eunuch. Okay, what they did is just like they done a lot of raiders done during the slave days, is they would cut the men's of Judah and Israel penises off. All right, they would cut our penises off and then call us eunuchs. All right, so we don't want to get into that. What we're talking about when we talk about eunuchs is still of some sort of royalty, meaning that we will be in the king's palace to give him direction, so our God would bestow blessings upon him. All right, if he followed the laws of the Creator, right? So let's go to 16, and this goes to show you that even after our defeation, that we still had some direction in what was going on, because remember, this land is sanctified. I keep telling you that over and over again. So whether who come into power, everybody has to worship the Most High. So it don't matter, or you know, his reign is on everybody. Okay, so he's the one, he's the puppet master. All right, he pulls the strings on everything that goes on in this entire planet. All right, and anywhere else. All right, so let's go to 16. Let's go to 16. All right, let's just start there. So it said, then Isaiah, all right, this is where the prophet Isaiah is being prophesied some things over in 2 Kings, okay? Then Isaiah said to Hezekiah, listen to this message from Hawa. The time is coming when everything in your palace, all right, all the treasures stored up by your ancestors until now, all right, don't that sound familiar? All right, that's what we learned about all in the Grand Canyons. We learned about all our treasures all over the place in the Americas being uncovered and stolen and torn down. And you understand? So the time is coming when everything in your palace, all right, all the treasures stored up by your ancestors until now, all right, until now will be carried off to Babylon. Nothing will be left, says Hawa. All right, some of your very own sons will be taken away into exile. Okay, they will become eunuchs who will serve in the palace of Babylon. Okay, they will become eunuchs who will serve in the palace of Babylon. Okay, then in 19, and then 19, then Hezekiah said to Isaiah the prophet, right, this message you have given me from Hawa is good. For the king was thinking, at least there will be peace and security during my lifetime. All right. during my lifetime. The rest of the events in Hezekiah's reign, including the extent of his power and how he built a pool and dug a tunnel to bring water into the city, are recorded in the book of history of the Judah. All right, and that's the last thing I want to show you too, is about these, what he talking about, these water towers. Okay, so if you go down, so what basically where we talking about is that these eunuchs though, that our descendants will still reign. That's basically what it means, is that we're going to come up, we're going to end up rebuilding and setting up for our Father. All right, he's going to make us do that. All right, we have to put our boots on the ground and do that. So and so let's go over to and the reason why is you can see Hezekiah being so at peace with that is because you got to understand that Hezekiah was at war. Hezekiah was at war with his own people. You understand? Hezekiah was at war with his own people. Alright? Hezekiah was at war with his own people. That's why he was like, man, okay, phew. Alright, man. Because we didn't get it. We were evil, man. We were evil. Alright? So that's why the dragon got thrown down. Alright? And that's why the dragon wasn't allowed. God pulled up the baby because the baby was his seed. That was the righteous seed. You have to understand that the dragon did not want the righteous seed to rule. You understand that? He didn't want the righteous seed to rule, so therefore, that's why he was guarding, waiting on the baby to come out. That's the seed. That's the son of Nun. You have to understand that. That's Joshua, the son of Nun. Okay, but it was protected. Alright, so therefore, we were protected. Alright, so our rule is destined. Our rule is destined. Children of Judah, prisoners of war. Alright, come back to the Creator. We must come back to the Creator. Alright, so I think we're gonna end it with that, man, because now we want to get into so we know about the disaster, what the Most High will say, like when you go over to 22, when you get down to chapter 22. When you get down to chapter 22, I know we've been 44 minutes. I didn't mean to take it that long, but maybe I can edit it and shorten it up. But when you get to 22, chapter 22 and 16 and 17, it talks about the disaster, right? All right, let's find it. All right. Okay, so when you get down to 16, this is what the Lord says. Okay, Hawa says, I'm going to bring disaster on this city and its people. All the words are written in the scroll that the king of Judah has read will come true. Okay, we're talking about Josiah. Okay, for my people have abandoned me and offer sacrifices to pagan gods. I am very angry with them for everything they have done. My anger will burn against this place, and it will not be quenched. Okay, so you gotta understand, man. So only people we can be mad at is us. All right, only people we can be mad at is us. Now you want to look at this black or this white thing. Remember this, that the white thing was only the white thing. We want to talk about leprosy or whatever, but that the white thing was only a diversion by the black thing. You get what I'm saying? The white thing was only a diversion by the black thing, so you don't figure out what's going on, man. All right, this is your own people, man. Israel, Judah. We warring with each other. We brought Edom into our camps. We brought Assyria into our camps by the treaties we made because we were fighting against each other. Alright? We were all disobeying God. We were all disobeying the Most High. So the dragon was thrown down in Revelation 12 with a third of the stars, remember? Cast down. Alright? So Alright, so let's get into this video. Alright, then we'll get into those subscriptions, those links, man, where we want to get into more in depth. But this is Miss Heather Ann Thompson, where she got books and did a lot of research and statistics on what's really going on, and not just America, but what's really going on in Wisconsin. Alright, why the rapid interest in building of private prisons? Okay, why? Alright, we'll get into that. So, man, y'all still there? Let's get it in. Alright, shalom to everybody in the chat room. I see the dragons are on the wall. It's a beautiful thing, man. Comment as you may. Y'all can hit the like button. I really don't care. It really don't matter if you hit the like button or not. All praise to Allah. Alright, and let's check this out, man.
Thank you so much, and thank you for coming out on this absolutely gorgeous day when we were so used to the snow. I'm surprised any of you were here, so thank you. Thank you for coming all this way. Thank you to the Political Theory Project for having me. I really enjoy getting to...
You know they're in Wisconsin because we're talking about the snow, but never mind that. All right.
Talk about this book and share why I think Attica matters with multiple audiences. And it's always, well, I absolutely love talking to historians and people in my own discipline. I particularly love it when we get to share the story even outside of history. And I know some of you here are from political science and a lot of different places. So thank you so much for coming out. Because I am a historian, I'm going to end up telling you a very historical story, but because this is a more public lecture, and so I'm probably not so wedded to the kind of deeper historical arguments that I hope the book makes, I want to share with you this book from a perspective of why does it actually matter right now, or why does this story matter today? And I want to suggest to you that I think that this story, while it is historically interesting and certainly something that it's important as citizens of this country we know about, I actually think it has a lot to say about where we are right now in this country. And when I say where we are right now in this country, we can all just kind of take a big sigh, because we're in a lot of places right now in this country. None of them are feeling very good. Specifically, what I mean by that is where we are with our criminal justice system. And I suspect if you're here, my next few slides are going to seem absolutely redundant to you because you probably already know all this. But again, I never quite know who's in the room, so I'm going to go ahead and just lay this out. Where we are is with one of the most enormous criminal justice systems really the world has ever seen.
All right, we can check out this map, how many people are locked up in the United States. Okay, we got a graph with state prisons. Okay, 1.3 million people are locked up in state prisons. Federal prisons, 211,000. All right, and in local jails, 600, over 500,000. All right, so it says the United States locks up more people per capita than any other nation. The United States than any other nation. Why is that? Why is that? But grappling with why requires us to first consider the many types of correctional facilities and the reasons that 2.3 million people are confined there. Okay, so that's when we're going to get into your private prisons. All right, so just hold on. Territorial prisons 13, immigration detention is 33,000. all right, so hold on.
Put this graph up here very deliberately because one of the things I think most Americans think about when they think about the criminal justice system is the state prison system. And this graph makes clear that that's just sort of the tip of the iceberg when we're talking about the carceral state. It is a huge part of this pie, but it's by no means the only part of the pie. We're talking federal prisons, we're talking immigration detention, we're talking juvenile facilities, we're talking every possible manner of controlling criminalizing, controlling, and containing the population that lives in this country. And to look at this graph, which is about 2.5 million people actually behind bars, but almost 7 million under correctional control, immigration detention.
Hold up, I wanted to go back because it also states about, okay, these people are, what are they in jail for? So just like public order, right? Public order, right? There's 149,000 people in jail just for public order, right? There is 212,000 people in jail for drugs, okay? And there are 261,000 in prison for property, right? Property. And there are only 718 for a violent crime. Alright, so, and majority of these inmates are children of Israel and Judah. Why is that? Why is Israel and Judah being upheld to the law so bad? Way worse than their counterparts. Let's check it out.
Talking juvenile facilities, we're talking every possible manner of controlling, criminalizing, controlling, and containing the population that lives in this country. And to look at this graph, which is about 2.5 million people actually behind bars, but almost 7 million under correctional control, you don't really appreciate how strange that is, again, until you look at this compared to other countries. And again, for those of us who do this work, this is no news flash, but it's still, even to me.
Now you look at this map, this graph, the U.S. has the highest incarceration rate of any country in the world, imprisoning about 730 out of every 100,000 citizens. Okay, incarceration rates for the countries in OECD, whatever that means, center detentions, I'm not, 800 prisoners per every 100,000 citizens. So in the Republic, Poland, Mexico, New Zealand, Slovakia, Hungary, Turkey, okay, England, Spain. So it shows you where predominantly melanated people are. Okay, melanated people are. Alright, so let's see what she's talking about.
I look at this and it kind of just takes my breath away a little bit. Us compared to multiple other countries, and it wouldn't matter. It actually wouldn't matter who we have up here, what countries are up here. It literally doesn't matter. We are a staggering international outlier. And of course, not just any population is so disproportionately incarcerated. We're talking staggeringly about a population that is overwhelmingly black and brown. And I particularly love to share this graph because the one on the top shows us how racially disproportionate our system is, but the one on the bottom gives us some historical perspective. This is our racial disproportionality compared to that in South Africa at the height of apartheid. So lest we kind of forget.
So at the height of apartheid, this is the United States, this is South Africa, okay? And we're in the thousands versus South Africa incarceration rates for black men. More than South Africa, man, in the United States, okay?
Just how odd this is, historically how odd it is, and how really unnervingly racialized it is. This graph shows that. And again, for this audience, I don't need to point this out, but oftentimes I'm giving this talk to 400 people in a small town in Kansas, and I do have to say this, which is that when you look at a graph like this, there is a temptation on the part of many folks to look at these numbers and say, well, I guess that's alarming, but secretly they're saying, but does that mean that black folks commit more crime? Or does that have something to do with the crime rate.
What?
Well, again, we could debate all day what the crime rate really means, but what I can tell you is that one of the biggest feeders to the criminal justice system, not the only one, but one of the biggest ones we can agree on, is the drug war, for example. And it bears mentioning that, of course, white people enjoy drugs more, use drugs more, and in fact, sell more drugs than...
Now, you heard her, right? Now, for people who would say, well, black people doing more crime, right? So as you can see in this graph, right, the blue is the percentage of illicit drug users in America, right? And the green or the orange is the percent of drug war prisoners in America, those who've been locked up. All right, so now let's go to what we call so-called white. Look at the blue. The blue is for illicit drug users. All right, whites admittedly to using more drugs than any other so-called race, right? Any other so-called people, right? The so-called white people. This is the Hispanic. This is the black, so-called black. This is the so-called other. All right. The blues. We're talking about the blues. All right. So the other who don't claim these nationalities, you understand the perpetuality? Okay, these three claiming nationalities are more hooked on drugs than the people that are not claiming races. You see that? The people who don't claim races in this perpetual cycle, alright, you see these are the people that's caught up. But anyway, as you can see, the blue for the so-called whites are triple than the so-called Hispanics or the blacks. But when you look at an incarceration rate, why is so-called black quadruple incarceration than any other so-called race in drugs? Because we the ones that's falling for this program, right? We the ones that's falling for this white, Hispanic, black program. Alright? When the true meaning is in 2 Kings, where we just read, where we just came from, okay? So let's check this out.
Any other racial group. So clearly this is not just about where the crime is and the adage, if you do the...
So look at that. Drug sellers by race. Okay, admittedly, drug sellers. Okay? You got everybody in here more successful off selling drugs than us. And we in jail the most for drugs. Man, come on.
The crime, you do the time, is deeply problematic. I think this next slide, and I'm almost done with my slides, really drives this point home, which is this is marijuana arrests, and out of all the slides in my deck, this is the one that blows away my students the most. This is arrests for marijuana in our largest counties in the United States. So Detroit, Chicago, you name it. And the reason why this is such a powerful slide is because, at least when I'm talking to a group of students in just about any country, just about any college campus, actually in any country, no white students believe that other groups like marijuana more than they do. This just, you don't have to persuade them of that. So this just shows you again that this is not a story about where the crime is as much as it's a story about where the policing is, where the deployment of the carceral state is more than where crime is. And why this all matters, at least this piece of the story matters, is because we did not have to do this. There is this lore, this feeling that, as regrettable as this may be, that we did it for a reason. And frankly, it's because, the 60s. The 60s were, criminal, crime, thugs, really dangerous, bad times in all kinds of ways. And the thing about being a historian is that historians got to actually look at that question intellectually. And
come on, man. Dodge your hijacks, okay? Come on.
Critically, and it turns out that it's just simply not true. Elizabeth Hinton, who joins us in the audience, did some amazing work to really locate the extent to which this is not true. But really, we need to think about it this way. We started the war on crime in 1965, as she points out in her book so beautifully, under the Johnson administration, at a time when the crime rate had not been that low for a very long time. This graph really drives home that point. We'll just go straight to homicide, because I think we will agree that you're either dead or you aren't. Some of the other crime statistics are much more complicated. And the other alarming thing is that not only did we start the war on crime before crime becomes anything that is particularly noteworthy, despite what politicians were saying, what you notice is that when the violent crime rate, again, we can quibble about what that data looks like, but when violence becomes particularly troubling in this country, we're actually knee-deep in the war on crime. We've got more resources devoted to the war on crime than you could possibly imagine, specifically, in this case, notably under a Democratic administration after the Clinton crime bill. So it matters that we did this and we didn't have to do this. So then why did we do this? Well, there's a host of really important books on this, including Dr. Hinton's, but it's really clear by multiple scholars now that we did this for political reasons. Very specifically in the 1960s, the way we can understand it is, well, actually there's a great historical analogy to this. The last time we did this was after the Civil War. We have the American Civil War. You have 4 million people, newly freed people, imagining that they in fact had a right to the spoils of this nation, that you had a right to a job, you had a right to a house. And the response of white Southerners after the Civil War to those bids on black freedom was to criminalize black spaces in completely new ways, to make things crimes that had not been crimes, to make things that had been crimes 10 times more of crimes. And in the South, after the Civil War, after what we think of as really the first major black freedom struggle, what happened? We saw that, for example, the Georgia State Penitentiary went from being all white in 1865 to virtually all black by 1895. Again, not because white folks stop committing crime and black folks lose their mind, but in fact because of a political decision to use the criminal justice system as a means of social control. Well, in a very simplistic way of thinking about this that actually has some real teeth behind it methodologically and intellectually, we do essentially the same thing after the second freedom struggle of the 1950s and 1960s. Criminalize black spaces and brown spaces in completely new ways, make things a crime that had not been a crime, make things that had been a crime much more of a crime, and pretty soon we have the largest prison buildup in the entire world. And every time there is a major jump up of that prison rate, it's after a very specific political decision. There's so many more that should...
So basically, Judah and Israel, you target. Alright? It's a war going on, and you a target. You're actually a target. As you can see, and used with political gain, you are a target. So the war is on you. Why? 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 I think by now we know the answer. They want you lost in the sauce. They don't want you to get your kingdom back. They don't want you to get your heaven back. Alright? And we talking about your own people, alright, are using these foreign enemies. Alright? Your own people. So let's check this out, man. Wisconsin prisons incarcerate most black men in the U.S. The United States, oh yeah, let's go back to that ad because, you know, that's the blood in the water. Let's go back to that ad. That's Professor Heather Ann Thompson. Thank you. Her lecture, she calls the blood in the water. The water is your blood. Your blood is in the water. The water know your story. The water tells it all. The water knows your story, and this is your blood in the water. The water is your witness. Mem, the memory. Mem is your memory. Alright? Mem, blood, is water. Alright? And the water knows it all. The water is witness to everything, all the atrocities that happened to the people of Israel. Alright? So, Wisconsin prisons incarcerate most black men in the U.S. This is the third way, man. This is for our family with the 3 hots and the cot. Alright, this is our family behind those walls. This is the third way. The United States prison population is still the world's highest. Alright, with more than 1.5 million people behind bars. Alright, man, that's just in Wisconsin. Okay, black men are more likely to be sent to prison than white men, and often on drug offenses. Alright, but we already seen the statistics, right? A study from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee looked at the state's incarceration rates, and they found they were highest in the country for black men. Excuse me. The United States of Wisconsin researchers said their analysis was truly eye-opening. They found that Wisconsin incarceration rate for black men, 13%, was nearly double the country's rate. Alright. So they say every black man here that get pulled over right now, there's a standard protocol that the officer asks you. You got a driver's license, and are you on probation? That's the automatic thing they ask you. Or it's also when they look your name up and see your charge, they automatically ask, you got any dope or guns in the car, depending on what's your case. What's your case? Alright? And it's funny to me, the more you cooperate, it seems the more intimidating the system gets. Okay, that's why we run from the system. We run, man. We like, man, we run, but we already know, you know, we gonna be judged by them, right? All right, let's check out another ad. I mean, this is an actual PDF. Wisconsin mass incarceration of so-called African American males. All right, this is in Wisconsin, so we know we're talking about the children of Judah. Alright, mostly the children of Judah. Alright, and you know we got Edom and Assyria spread it in there with us. But we got to understand the Ruach. It's all about the Ruach. You know, those who don't love your Creator ain't going to have that Ruach, man. I don't care if they're Israel too or Judah. They Israel or Judah. If you don't love the Creator, then you're not Israel or Judah. And you will not have the Ruach. Alright? You have to submit to his will. Alright, among the most critical workforce issues facing Wisconsin are governmental policies and practices leading to mass incarceration of African American men and suspicion of driving privileges to low-income adults. Alright, low-income adults. The prison population in Wisconsin has more than tripled since 1990, fueled by increased government funding for drug enforcement, right? Due to your politicians, all right, rather than treatment and prison construction. 3-strike rules, mandatory minimum sentence laws, truth in sentencing, replacing judicial discretion in setting punishments. All right, concentration, policing in minority communities, and state incarceration for minor probation and supervision violations, particularly impacted were African Americans. Alright, what you call African Americans, but we know most of these are descendants of Jacob. Alright, with the 2010 U.S. Census, alright, showing Wisconsin having the highest black male incarceration rate in the nation. In Milwaukee County, over half of the African American men in their 30s have served time in state prison. Okay, this report uses 2 decades of State Department of Corrections, alright, the DOC and Department of Transportation, DOT, alright, files to access its employment and training barriers facing African American men. Training barriers. All right. With the history of the DOC offenses and DOT violations. All right. What is the DOT? All right. That's what we need to be understanding. What is the DOT? Department of Transportation. You mean to tell me that 27,874 men violated with the Department of just Transportations for you to travel from A to B, from you to travel from here to there? That 27,000 of us have violated that in the last couple years. Prison time is the most serious barrier to employment. All right, so you can't get a job, right? Can't get a job. You know that you need to go read Job. You can't get a job. The paper quantifies. So we got, understand what's going on. Now this is a PDF, a beautiful PDF with graphs. Okay, in April of, I'll put the I'll make sure I put this in the so you guys can pull it up. All right, so the findings in April of 2010, when the United States, hold up a second, man. Hold up 1 second. All right, man, we had to get a drum to this, man. All right, so in April of 2010, when the U.S. Census Bureau conducted its decennial, every 10 year, right, its decade count of Wisconsin residents, it found 12.8 or 1 in 8 of African American working age men behind bars in state prisons. All right, 1 out of 8. All right, in local jails. This rate of mass incarceration is the highest of so-called African American men in the country. All right, Jacob, in the country, and nearly double the national average of 6.7 or 1 in 15. All right, see graph page 8. This is in Wisconsin, man. It's all the way in the red. As you can see, it's all the way in the red, Jacob. 10 worst states for incarceration of African American men. Look at this, Wisconsin. Look at this, Wisconsin. Oklahoma, the next. Iowa, Pennsylvania, California, 8.6, Indiana, Louisiana, Texas, Colorado, Kansas. All right, these are the 10 worst states. But Wisconsin is surging way past any other state. Wow. Wisconsin also leads the nation in incarceration of Native American men, with 7.6 of working age men, or 1 in 13 in state prisons and local jails in 2010, compared to 3.1% or 1 in 32 nationally. By contrast, Wisconsin's rate of incarceration of white men is similar to the national average. All right, percentage of men incarcerated in state prison and local jails at the time of 2010 U.S. Census. Wisconsin compared to the United States average. Look at this. Judah, 12.8. So-called whites, 1.2. Native Americans, 7.6. And you only said that it's only 1.6. 1% of Americans in Native Americans labeled in the United States, but they 7%. Second of incarceration in Wisconsin state prison. So yeah, y'all check out these maps. Levels of incarceration by age. Okay, so you're talking about from 15 to 20. All right, from 15 to 20 is where they locking us up. It said its highest. Wow. 15 to 20 ages, man. We gotta start understanding early. We have to teach our kids. We have to start understanding from the time we come out the womb what is going on. And what is that? Through the Hamashiach, the law, statutes, and the commandments. By January 2012, man, as you can see, this ain't a game. Yearly DOC admissions with drug-related offenses. Milwaukee County residents, drug-related. Alright, African Americans. Look, so-called African Americans, and you know who I'm talking about. You know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the seed of Jacob. Staggering, staggering. Staggering. Driver's license status. 26,000 just for driving, man. Look at the percentages. Alright? Y'all dig it up. I just want to show you this one last graph. Mass incarceration of the children of Jacob, the males. Two issues stand out when reviewing incarceration rates for Wisconsin residents. First is that the United States has the highest number of incarcerated persons, alright, and the highest rate of incarceration in the world, according to the International Prison Population Database. Okay, the total incarceration rate for the state of Wisconsin is similar to the U.S. average. Okay, to the U.S. average, just in Wisconsin. Do you understand that? They're comparing Wisconsin to the entire United States. All right, what makes Wisconsin unique? They call it unique. It's exceptionally high rate of imprisonment of the children of Jacob, the males, the so-called African Americans. Wisconsin's African American male incarceration rate is the highest in the United States. In fact, the rate is 32% higher than the second worst ranked state, Oklahoma. 32. Oklahoma, huh? Why is Oklahoma second? Alright? You seen that on the map, right? Because that was the Trail of Tears. Oklahoma was the Trail of Tears. That's why it's second highest, other than Wisconsin. So you understand that we're being targeted. Our people are being targeted. Jacob is being targeted. Oklahoma was the Trail of Tears. We went to Oklahoma in the 1800s. So as you can see, Oklahoma being the second highest for incarceration of black males. Alright, given wide disparities in income among racial groups in Wisconsin and the intense levels of segregation in the Milwaukee population area, large numbers of ex-offenders released from Wisconsin Correctional Institute reside in the poorest neighborhoods of Milwaukee, the poorest neighborhoods of Milwaukee. This is my city. This is my city. That's all around me is being targeted. So you want to say that I'm not being targeted? My people, you got to escape Babylon. We have to get out of Babylon. My people in Milwaukee, you are in Babylon. My people in the cities of Milwaukee. Areas which have seen dramatic job losses and foreclosure actions during the economic recession, bringing ex-offenders into full engagement into the current labor force is one of the most important challenges for Milwaukee and for the state. Wisconsin, Oklahoma. Why? 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 We can keep asking why. I want to take y'all to this graph though, so y'all can get through all that, man. Get through all that food. That's nothing but food, and be free to use this over and over and over again. This is nothing but food. All right. I'll make sure I drop the link. Alright, I want to get to this one map, man. This geographical map right here. Okay, this is the home residence of the children of Jacob, state prisoners incarcerated and released. Okay, this is all the home addresses of the state prisoners, right? The children of Jacob in Wisconsin. These are the prisoners' home address. Alright, so if you can look on the map, right in the heart, right? Look at that. Right in the heart. Milwaukee. These is where they're targeting all the prisoners for Wisconsin. Because this right here is Babylon. Somebody asked me, where is Babylon? Look in your city. Look in your city. Right here, in my city, this is Babylon. Ba Hashem, Abba Hawa, Yahweh Shua, HaMashiach. We must get back to the Father. Shabbat Shalom, people. Remember the Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom, people. Also, when you go over to 11 down to 5, it'll tell you Solomon worshiped what he worshiped. After a while, you see him, he fall, right? Solomon fall to Asheroth, the god of the Zidonians, of the Canaanites, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. Okay? And Milcom, as you see, is Molech. Alright, the detestable god of the Ammonites. In this way, Solomon did what was evil in the sight of Hawa. He refused to follow Hawa completely as his father David had done on the Mount of Olives, east of Jerusalem. He even built a pagan shrine for Shamash, the detestable god of Moab. Alright, and another for Molech, the detestable god of the Ammonites. And as you know, man, these gods that they're talking about, these are images, these are shrines, okay, that have no power. Okay, no power. So whether they were making a mistake, but you got to understand that see, from these other nations is what they embody. Okay, they like to take upon pieces, you know, attributes of Hawa and bestow upon them, you know, and just bestow upon them, when they got to understand that Hawa is the blessing. Okay, Hawa is the blessing. Alright, so then, you know, like we said, so we get into Solomon's adversary. Alright, Solomon's adversary. Okay, this is when everything started to go a little haywire, but remember, it's all prophecy when these tribes split up, right? When these tribes split up after Solomon. Alright, now we talking about, as they say, is a symbolic number of 1.3 million people or 1.6 million people, but it could be 400 million people. We talking about split up. Alright, completely split up. So, and because of this worship of Solomon, right? So, as he say, as you go down to 13 says, I will let him be a king. I will let him be king of one tribe, for the sake of my servant David and for the sake of Jerusalem, my chosen city. Okay, so when you go down to 13, oh man, let's go down to 13. Messed up. Let me go back to Kings. We done topsy-turvy. Hold on 1 second. Go to 1 Kings. Now we in chapter 10. Alright, we're in chapter 11. So when you go to 15, alright, for it came to pass. Alright, for it came to pass when David was in Edom What's up, Sheldon? I'm recording. I'll holler at you in a little bit. Alright, for it came to pass when David was in Edom, and Joab, the captain of the host, was gone up to bury the slain, okay, and he had smitten every male in Edom. Okay. That's First Kings, we in the right. Yeah. So 11. But yeah, that's another thing, how David has smote every king in Edom. So so the Lord raised up Hadad, okay, the Edomite, a member of Edom's royal family. Okay. Edom's royal family to be Solomon's adversary. So his adversary would be, you know, his opponent. All right, because David had destroyed everybody in Edom. As you can see, David was in Edom, and Joab, the captain of the host, was going up to bury the slain Israelites after he had smoten every male in Edom. All right, every male in Edom, after he had smoten every male in Edom. So they were cleaning up the bodies of Edom. All right, so for 6 months he remained there. All right, until he had cut off every male in Edom. All right, so it was big. So just in those lands he cut off every male in Edom. All right, and so, but Hadad had actually got away. Okay, so the Lord raised up Hadad. When you get to 14, the Lord had raised up. Why am I not seeing that? 1 Kings chapter 11. 1 Kings chapter 11. Chapter 11 and 14 says, and then the Lord had raised up Hadad, stirred up an adversary unto Solomon, Hadad the Edomite. Okay, all right. So he was a member of Edom's royal family to be Solomon's adversary. Okay, years before David had defeated Edom, Joab, his army commander, had stayed to bury the, you know, what we just talked about. But Hadad and a few of his father's royals escaped. Okay, escaped and headed for Egypt. All right, and headed for Egypt, where they would blend in too. All right, and Hadad was just a boy in that time, and the Pharaoh in Egypt had took him in. Okay, because it was prophecy. Okay, so this Edom would cause, you know, some harm in the end, as we could see today, right? As we could see today. So then one of Solomon's official, Jeroboam, which was prophecy also, rebels against Solomon. Okay, these are our tribes, man. All right, these are our tribes, and this is what actually happened. So Jeroboam rebels against Solomon. All right, but it was all prophecy, because Jeroboam was granted these actual northern kingdom. All right, the actual northern kingdom. So if you go over 26, go down to 26, and Jeroboam the son of Nebat, an Ephraimite. Okay, that's from Ephraim. All right, Solomon's servant. Okay, whose mother name was Zerah, a widow. All right, even he lifted up his hand against the king. Okay, he lifted up his hand against, all right, Solomon. I mean, yeah, he lifted up his hand against the king, and against Solomon. So he basically was granted the prophecy of having the northern tribes. Okay, so the prophet Ahiah at this time from Shiloh met him along the way. So if you go down to 29, and it came to pass when Jeroboam Ahiah, okay, from Shiloh, had told him that he would basically prophesy from his cloak, prophesy. All right, because Solomon had abandoned him. So he confirmed that Solomon had abandoned him. All right, you get down to 34, but he would not take the entire kingdom, for he would only take that one. Okay. because the descendants of David will reign. Okay, so he would take that 1 because the descendants of David will reign over down in 36. And unto his son I will give 1 tribe, that David my servant may have a light always before me in Jerusalem. Okay, the city which I have chosen me to put my name there. Alright, so the city I chose to put my name there. Alright. So because of Solomon's sins, you can see the tribes were split up. Okay, so that's when, okay, so Rehoboam, after Solomon ruled in Jerusalem over all of Israel for 40 years. Okay, for 40 years. When he died, he was buried in the city of David, named for his father. Alright, named for his father. Then his son Rehoboam became the next king. So as you can see, Israel, after Solomon, there was another king. Alright, and as you can see, as we get into chapter 12, we denounce that dynasty of David. Okay, and we still to this day denounce the dynasty of David. Okay, after 100 kings, still. Alright, and that Ruach comes through those kings, believe that. Alright, so, and through the prophets, the seers, okay, and through the priests, alright, and through Israel. Israel, you are the priest. Come on, you are the priest. Y'all tired? Y'all still here? Alright, so this Rehoboam in 12 becomes king, right? So we don't want to get into the story of Rehoboam. Alright, since Rehoboam, Israel had remembered. This is why Israel down the dynasty, right? Because Israel had remembered that David's census, the census David had took. Israel had remembered their census, so you know, Israel was like, man, listen, if you ain't trying to be no better than David, then we gonna denounce you. But see, that was all prophecy also. All right, so they denounced him and then chose Jeroboam to be their tribe, to be their king of their tribes. Okay, and these were who Solomon had set up, right? So if you look in go down to 12, you go down to 16, right? You go down to 16. Okay, the kingdom was divided. Alright, the kingdom was divided. So it says, so when all of Israel realized that the king had refused to listen to them, they responded. They're talking about Rehoboam. When Rehoboam had decided to listen to him, they said, down with the dynasty of David. Okay, down with the dynasty of David. We have no interest in the son of Jesse. Back to your homes, O Israel. Look out for your own house, O David. Look out for your own house, O David. Alright, so the people of Israel had returned home, but Rehoboam continued to rule over the Israelites who lived in the towns of Judah. Alright, so you go down to 18. And the king Rehoboam sent Adoram, who was over the tribute of all Israel. They stoned him with stones, okay, to let him know we not messing with you. All right, we're not messing with the dynasty of David. We stoned this dude. All right, we killed this dude. All right, so that's when Israel just started to rebel crazy. All right, so and then Jeroboam started them to worship. Remember this calf, right? This is Shemaiah's prophecy from the prophet Shemaiah. All right, from the prophecy Shemaiah, because Rehoboam was going to go ahead and try to fight, was going to try to go ahead and kill all the Israelites. But then the prophet Shemaiah said, just chill out. This is God's doing. This is Hawar's doing. Or when you get down to 21. Okay, when you get down to 21, he says, this is Hawal's doing. Y'all just sit back and chill. And when Rehoboam was come to Jerusalem, he assembled all the house of Judah with the tribe of Benjamin, and 184,000 chosen men, which were warriors to fight against the house of Israel. Okay, so you can see, you know, this was started all these battles, man, is the pagan worship, to bring the kingdom again to Rehoboam, the son of Solomon. All right. But the word of Hawal came to Shemaiah, the man of God. So he said, nah, y'all just chill. Okay, y'all just chill. Let Jeroboam do what he do, what he sees fit, because I got something for all this. I got something for all this. So when you get down to 25, Jeroboam makes golden calves, right? Jeroboam thought to himself, right? So, you know, Jeroboam then built up a city in Shechem in the hill of Ephraim. In the hill country of Ephraim, it became its capital. All right, later it went up to build in the town of Peniel. All right, Jeroboam thought to himself. All right, and this is very important also. All right, y'all pay attention, because Jeroboam thought to himself in 26. This was the whole plan for you to worship idols, right? Listen. Listen, Israel. This was the whole plan for you to worship idols, all right, from the Israelite kings, right? When you get to 26, Jeroboam thought to himself, right? He said, unless I am careful, the king will return, all right, the kingdom will return to the dynasty of David. All right, that's very important. He said, unless I return, all right, unless I am careful, the kingdom will return to the dynasty of David. When these people go to Jerusalem to offer sacrifices of what? Peace and joy at the temple of Hawal, they will again give their allegiance to the king Rehoboam. Okay, just giving your allegiance to the king of Rehoboam commits you, all right, in the dynasty. You will return to the dynasty just showing allegiance to the king Rehoboam of Judah. All right, you get it? They will then kill me and make him their king instead. Okay, so on the advice of the counselors, the king made 2 golden calves. All right, he said to the people, it is too much trouble for you to go to Jerusalem, all right, to go somewhere and worship. Just look, Israel, these are the gods who brought you out of Egypt, right? He said that in 28. These are the gods who brought you out of Egypt. All right, right? So why not just worship them, Israel? Right? He placed these calf idols in Bethel and one in Dan. All right, at the end of at either end of his kingdom. All right, and he also erected buildings and pagan shrines and ordained it priests. All right, priests from the common people, those who were not from the priestly tribe of Levi. And Jeroboam instituted a religious festival in Bethel, held on the 15th day of the 18th month, and imitated the annual festival shelters in Judah. All right, there at Bethel, he himself offered sacrifices to calves he had made, and he appointed priests for the pagan shrines. Okay, he had made. All right, and as you can see when we get into it, that was all the most problems for these kings, is even the ones who did good in the sight, they didn't tear down all the pagan shrines. They didn't tear down all the shrines. All right, that's something that Israel know. There is no picture. There is no ideology of one in heaven as it is on earth. There is no duality of heaven. So you can't, and when we talk about heaven, we talk about, like, and that's beautiful how our brother King Drop broke it down for us in the ether a few times when we talk about heaven. Okay, we're not talking about this this dreamy world, you know, this afterlife, you know what I'm saying? We're talking about right now, right here, this heaven, this land, that the unseen, the promised land. All right, that's here. Remember that Hawa is coming here. He's here, just like he was here with Moses. You understand? Just like he's here with Joshua. You got to understand that, you know, this is the heaven that it appears. So yeah, man, we appreciate El for breaking that down for us once again. You know, we've been hitting you over the head with this for the last couple of years, so it's a beautiful thing. All right, so, and it's a beautiful thing how we as the indigenous people, the descendants of Israel and Judah, how we able to connect those things as far as our dragonology, how we're able to go in and out and not make it insular. You know what I'm saying? Not make it ignorant, because we have the capability to directly connect with the Most High. All right, we have the ability to directly connect with the Most High. We have the ability, the Ruach, to bestow upon us, just like David, just like Josiah, just like Joseph, just like Moshe. All right, that seed is very precious. But when we talk about the ultimate dragonology, the ultimate goal is talking about when the Ruach comes upon you, like Joshua, like Moshe, or like who you call Christ, where you can't even look at their face. Then you know the Most High is here. He's here. He's coming to you. He's coming to you, the flesh. He's coming to your flesh. He's here. All right, so that's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing how these seeds are raised up. All through the Most High, our Creator. All right. Okay, so when we talk about, you know, these common folk being priests, how Jeroboam letting these common folk being priests, because what? Common folk didn't read nothing, right? They didn't read nothing. They didn't understand nothing. They didn't even believe wholeheartedly, right? So therefore they will end up worshiping these shrines, these idols, right? These idols that couldn't kill or let nothing live. You understand? So a prophecy was denounced from Jeroboam when you get into chapter 13. Prophecy was denounced. All right. A prophecy was denounced. All right. A prophet denounces Jeroboam. I'm sorry. A prophet denounces Jeroboam. As you look in 13, it says, at Hawah's command, a man of God, all right, from Judah, went to Bethel, arriving there just as Jeroboam was approaching the altar to burn incense. Then Hawah, all right, then at Hawah's command, he shouted, "O altar, altar. O altar, altar." All right. This is what Hawah says. All right. So now, this is what Hawah says. So now when we talk about this Ruach. All right. So now let's talk about this Ruach. This is what we're talking about. So then he says, a child shall be born into the house of David. Okay. Josiah by the name. Okay. And when you look into Josiah, that's what? That's Yoshiah. Yoshiah. Just like Jesse is Yesi. Alright. Yeshua. Alright. So Yeshua again. Alright. Who is Yeshua? Alright. That's Hawah, man. That's Hawah. So when you talk about a child shall be born, alright, into the house of David. Alright. This is after David. Okay, but this is David. You got to understand, because the same Ruach that was in David is in this child, Josiah, as well as it was in Solomon. Okay, so Josiah is Yeshua. Alright, you see how that's Yeshua? Yeshua. Okay, the root founded of Yah, Yoshiah. Alright. So by name, and upon thee he shall offer the priests of the high places that burn incense upon thee, and men's bones shall be burnt. Alright, so what he's saying is that a child's name, Josiah, will be born into the dynasty of David. Alright, and on you, alright, this is talking about Jeroboam. On you he will sacrifice the priests from the pagan shrines who come here to burn incense. and human bones will be burned on you. All right. The same day, the man of God gave a sign to prove this message. He said, the Lord has promised a wall to give a sign. This altar will be split apart. All right. The altar will be split apart, and the ashes will be poured on the ground, and that same sign prophesied to happen. Okay. So if you look at that, Israel, why did that happen? Because the same thing happened to you, because you burn what? You burn incense to shrines, to pagan shrines. Alright? Alright? Burn incense to pagan shrines. Alright? Alright, so this son, this seed, Josiah, alright, will be born. Alright, so it's letting you know that it will come to prophesy. Alright, so is that beautiful? So then, as we can see, when we get down to 18, how I think we'll skip over that, but I can just tell you about that in 18, how an old prophet was killed. Most High had killed a prophet for not doing exactly what he said when he told him to go into town and let them know. When he told him to go into a town and let them know what would happen to this king. All right. And he told him not to go eat, not to go take any gifts, but he did it. So he had that prophet eaten by lions. All right, that's in chapter 13. Okay. Okay, so this Jeroboam was making anybody priest. Okay, so we get down to 14. We get down to 14, and so there was a prophecy against Jeroboam. Okay, so Ahiah's prophecy against Jeroboam. Alright, so at that time, so in 14, so at that time, Jeroboam's son Abiah became very sick. Okay, so Jeroboam told his wife, disguise yourself, okay, so that no one will recognize you, and go to Abiah, right, because Abiah is the one who prophesies him. So he was like, but Abiah, who was blind, the prophet who was blind, knew that she was coming in an instant, right? And so the Lord came upon him so he could speak and understand that he told him that because of his worships that his son would get a proper burial, but he would be the only one in his family that would do that, and that he would destroy, that this prophet would destroy all of Jeroboam's descendants. Okay. Alright, so he will uproot his people from Israel, this good land he gave them, because he will scatter us among the Euphrates. Okay, for they have angered the Lord with Ashereth poles, which they have set up to worship. Okay, he will abandon, because Jeroboam have sinned and made Israel sin all against him also. Okay. Alright, so as you can see, so then after that, Jeroboam died, and his son Nabab became the next king, and Rehoboam ruled in Judah. Alright, Rehoboam ruled in Judah. Alright, and Rehoboam's reign and the people of Judah, he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. He did the same thing Solomon done. Abiah did evil in the sight of the Lord. Alright, so Abiam rules in Judah. Alright, after Rehoboam, right? Okay. And then so you got this kingdom of Judah, you got this kingdom of Egypt, right? So who was the first to form a treaty against the other tribe? Alright, who was the first to form a treaty against the other tribe? So when we get down, we talk about 16, 15, and 16, as we can see that there was a constant war between King Asa of Judah and King Baasha of Israel. King Baasha of Israel invaded Judah and fortified Ramah. Alright, so at that time, he was trying to fortify Ramah, I believe, right? He was trying to fortify Ramah, this King Baasha. Alright, but King Baasha also did evil in the sight of Hawa. So therefore he wasn't able to. All right. The king of Judah, Asa, ended up, stopping him from doing that. But as you can see, if you go down to 18, 15, and 18, the first treaty against Yasharallah. All right. Asa responded by removing all the silver. So look, let's start in 16. Let's go to 15 right here. Now you'll see the first treaty right here against our own people. Okay, more on more, man. More on more. All right. So now in the 18th year of King Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, reigned, all right, Abiam over Judah. 3 years reigned in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Maacah, the daughter of Absalom. All right. And he walked in the sins of his father, which he had done before him. All right. But what I'm trying to get down to is 19, 15, and 19. Okay, there is a league. All right. I'm going to just take it out of here. So what had happened was, when you go up to 16, and there was a war between Asa and Baasha, all right, king of Israel and Judah, all their days. Okay, so that's telling you we war with each other in all our days once our kingdom split up. That's who we was warring with, each other. Okay, and Baasha, king of Israel, went up against Judah and built Ramah. All right, he was building Ramah. He didn't finish, that he might not suffer, all right, any to go out or come in to Asa, king of Judah. All right. Then Asa took all the silver and the gold that was left in the treasures of the house and the treasures of the king's house, and delivered them into the hands of the servants. And King Asa sent them to Ben-Hadad, all right, Ben-Hadad the son of Tabaram, all right, Ben-Hadad the son of Tabaram, the son of Hezion, king of Syria, that dwelt at Damascus, saying, okay, there is a league between me and thee, between my father, okay, and thy father. Behold, have sent unto thee a present of silver and gold. Come, break thy league with Baasha, king of Israel, that he may depart from me. All right, so as you can see, King Baasha of Israel was the first to join, all right, to join with Ben-Hadad, son of Tabaram, all right, king of Aram, all right, to join in with them to take out Judah. So ain't that something? So the king of Israel, who worshiping all the idols, teamed up with Armenians, all right, to take over. He was king of Aram, to take over, to take us over, to take over Judah. So as you can see, this Armenian or Aram or Armenian is the same Ben-Hadad, right? Ben-Hadad that's from Esau, from Edom, who was chased out, right? Who when David family was killing, all right, David and Joab was killing them over in chapter 13, or not 13, but in David's story that he had escaped and ran to Egypt, and so he came back after he got raised up from the Pharaoh in Egypt. He came back and went into and basically became into a treaty, right? Because they came up and they became the king of Damascus, and everybody fighting against Judah, right? All the Israelites fighting against Judah. So therefore they became so the king of Damascus at this time that was ruling in Damascus was the king of Aram. This was the son of Hezion. This was Ben-Hadad, which is probably the same Hadad from Edom. All right, from Edom. So in 15, you see the first treaty. In 19, this Baasha had already had a treaty. Okay, had already had a treaty with Ben-Hadad. And this is Baasha of the king of Israelites. Alright, so Israelite kings were forming treaties with Edom. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Alright? That's what we're telling us. That's what the scriptures is telling us right now. That in 1 Kings chapter 15 was the first treaty. That treaty was with Edom. Alright? Alright, and against Judah. So Judah went and formed a treaty. You know, Judah went and formed a treaty against Israel in return. Alright, and Ben-Hadad agreed to King Asa's request and sent commanders to the army to attack the towns of Israel. Alright, they conquered the towns of Dan. Alright, so Naphtali. Alright, so then Jehoshaphat, Asa's son, became the next king. Alright, so and so Baasha had been using these using these materials to fortify Ramah. Asa used these materials to fortify the town of Geba. Alright, so he took the materials from in Benjamin, the town of Geba in Benjamin, in the town of Mizah. Alright, and so he took them from Ramah and went to Geba. Alright, so but I don't know, because Geba and Ramah can be the same thing. So but that's that. But then we got that's all recorded in the Kings of Judah. But in his old age, he became deceased, and when Asa died, he was buried with the ancestors in the city of David, because he was a descendant of David. Alright, all descendants were buried with the descendants of David. And Jehoshaphat, as a son, became the next king. Alright, became the next king, and Nadab ruled in evil, and they all did evil or wicked in the eyes of the Lord. Alright. So yes, I had to switch it up a little bit, switch up the music. So we're in 1 Kings chapter 15, the end of it, where we going into Baasha's rule. This is Baasha, who was king of Israel, but he was also from Issachar, from the tribe of Issachar. So he plotted against Nadab, the king of Israel, killed all his descendants, and so he immediately slaughtered all the descendants. Hold up, so let's pull out that sword again. So you gotta remember, so what we talking about? We talking about how the Most High prophesied through all these wars of Israel and Judah together. So this one we bringing into chapter 16, we bringing in this, what Most High prophesied, this prophet Jehu, who was be a prophet but also a king. Okay? He'd be a prophet but also a king. Alright, now that was beautiful, where Most High will make you a prophet and a king. Okay, so listen, listen to let's go down to 29, 15 and 29. Okay, 15 and 29. Let me see this. 1 Kings 15:29. So it came to pass, when he reigned, that he smote all the house of Jeroboam. Okay, he immediately slaughtered all the descendants of King Jeroboam, so that no one of the royal family was left. All right, no one of the royal. So this is what the tribes of Israel were doing, and the tribes of Judah were doing to each other. They were strategically cutting off a man's seeds. Okay, so we can't blame that on the so-called white man, because you can see we were strategically cutting off these tribal leaders' seeds. Okay, so this is King Baasha immediately slaughtered all the descendants of King Jeroboam, so that no one of the royal family was left, just as the Lord has promised concerning Jeroboam by the prophet of Ahiah from Shiloh. Alright, so this is prophecy from Hawa. All right, this was done because Jeroboam had provoked the anger in Hawwa, the God of Israel, by the sins he had committed and the sins he had led Israel to commit. All right, the rest of the events of Nadab's reign, all right, and everything is recorded in the history of the kings of Israel. All right, so Baasha ends up ruling, all right, in Israel and did evil in the sight of the Lord. All right, Baasha reigned in Tisra 24 years, but he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, continuing the sins of Jeroboam. Okay, so in 16 is very important. All right, it's very important, is because then what was prophesied before this descendant Jehu from the line of Judah, right? But he would be king. He's a prophet, and he would be king and prophet over Israel. This is from the line of Judah. All right. So as you can see, so this king was prophesied. This prophet was prophesied to come. So as you go in 16, this is the message from Hawwa was delivered. Okay, this message from Hawwa has delivered to King Baasha by the prophet Jehu, son of Hanani. I lifted you out of the dust to make you ruler of my people Israel, but you have followed the evil example of Jeroboam. Okay, you have provoked my anger by causing my people Israel to sin. Okay, so now I will destroy you and your family just as I destroyed the descendants of Jeroboam, son of Nebat. The members of Baasha's family who die in the city will be eaten by dogs, and those who die in the field will be eaten by vultures. And it happened to be so true that it happened. Alright, so when you go down to 5, alright, now the rest of the events in Baasha's reign in the book, in the extent of his power, are recorded in the book of history. Alright, when Baasha died, he was buried in Tisra. Then his son Ella became the next king. Okay, this message from the Lord, all right, against Baasha and his family came through the prophet Jehu. All right, so if you go down to 7, it says, and also by the hand of the prophet Jehu, the son of Hananiah, came the word of the Lord against Baasha and against the house and against his house, even for all the evil that he did in the sight of the Lord, and provoking him to anger with the work of his hands. Alright. So Ella rules in Israel, and then Zimri rules also. Zimri rules in Israel. And it's an interesting story in Zimri when it go down to 16 and 15. Zimri rules in Israel. Check this out. Zimri began to rule over Israel in 27 years of King Asa's reign in Judah. Alright, but his reign in Tisra lasted only 7 years. The army of Israel was then attacking the Philistine town of Gibbethon. When they heard that Zimri had committed treason, alright, when they heard that Zimri had committed treason and had assassinated the king, that every day they chose Omri. Okay, that very day they chose Omri, commander of the army, as the new king of Israel. So Omri led the entire army against Israel from Gibbethon to attack Tisra. Alright, Israel's capital. When Zimri saw that the city had been taken and went into he went into the citadel of the palace and burned it down over himself and died in the flames. For he too had done what was evil in the Lord's sight. He followed the example of Jeroboam and all the sins he had committed and led Israel to commit. So this dude burned down, okay? Zimri burned down the temple with him in it, the citadel. Alright, and the rest of those events are also are recorded that he conspired and recorded in the book of Kings of Israel. This dude burned down the temple. Okay? He went into the temple and burned it down because Omri chased him. Chasing the new king that Israel had made. So you see all these wars that Israel was committing, man, against each other, the atrocities they were committing with each other and causing the people. They choosing another king while they already got a king, and that king killing. Man, you see, so the Most High was working within these because all of the pagan worship, all of the idol worship. Okay? Israel denounced the seed. Israel denounced the seed and got to worshiping something else. That's the whole thing. You denounced the seed. Okay? You denounced the tribe of David. You denounced the line of David. And that's the whole thing. Okay? So even if you would have, like it said, when Jehoram was afraid that even if you would have caused an alliance with Rehoboam, okay, it would have put you in a better position. Just by us making an alliance with Rehoboam, who was a descendant of Solomon, who was a descendant of David. Okay? So King Omri rules for Israel. He did what was he built a city on and called it Samaria in honor of Shamar. But Omri did what was evil in the sight of the Lord too. Okay? He provoked the anger and by worshiping worthless idols. Okay, then Ahab rules, and we know Ahab is one of the worst kings ever. That's down in the bottom of 16. Ahab rules, and he's just one of the son of Omri. Okay, and these are all Israelites from Israelite tribes, man. Okay, Omri rules. He did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. Okay, now let's go down to 34. It's very important when you get down to 34. Alright, still 15. No, we on 16. So when you get down to 16 and 34, it talks about something very important. It says that alright, it was during his reign that Hill, a man from Bethel, rebuilt Jericho. When he laid his foundation, it cost him his life of his oldest sons, right? When he completed it and set it up, the gates, it cost him his life of his youngest son, Zagub. All right. This all happened according to the message of the Lord concerning Jericho, spoken by Joshua, son of Nun. All right. He's talking about, remember when he built those cities and went back and rebuilt those cities of Jericho. All right, and his two sons died because Joshua put a curse on that land when he tore it down. He said this land can't be rebuilt. Alright. So we get into prophets. Let's talk about Isaiah. We're going to finish it on up. Not Isaiah, but let's talk about Elijah. Okay, we still in the first Kings, man. We finishing up. We going through it real slow. Just giving, you know, just giving some detail. Just giving some details to our former lives, how we were warm with each other, how we were prophesizing, how the Ruach was going in and out of us, okay, against each other, okay, and how we were forming treaties with Esau, you know, on our own accord, to kill each other. All because of idol worship. So this guy burns down the citadel, and I know something familiar with that. We heard stories of the Caesar's Messiah. This king went in here and burned down the citadel because he was being chased. This King Zimri. Okay, let's get into 17, because 17 is start getting juicy. That's Elijah predicts a drought. All right. Now this Elijah was also predicted in the prophecy. So let's go to 17 and 1. Going down. So Elijah is fed by ravens. All right. Elijah, who was from Tishbe in Galilee, told King Ahab, "As surely as the Lord, the God of Israel, lives, the God I serve, there will be no dew or rain during the next few days until I give the word." Okay. Then Hawa said to Elijah, "Go to the east and hide by Kerith Brook, near where it enters the Jordan River. Drink from the brook and eat what the ravens bring to you." All right. So he was fed by ravens. "For I have commanded them to bring you food." Okay. So Elijah did exactly what Hawa told him to do. Okay. And then he went to the widow of Zarephath. Okay, to the widow at Zarephath, and that's when he also prophesied some food, because they didn't have any food. Okay. And about her son also, she did as Elijah said, and she said, Elijah, if you go down to 15. So she did as Elijah said, and she and Elijah and her son continued to eat for many days when he prophesied the food, when he made a miraculous, out of the olive oil create more food. But there was also enough flour and olive oil in the containers, just as the Lord had promised. Okay, through Elijah. So sometime later, the woman's son became sick. Okay, if you go to 17. Sometime later, the woman's son became sick. And the Lord prophesied Elijah brought him back. Elijah raises the widow's son. Okay, this is in Kings. Okay, and it came to pass after these things, the son of the woman, the mistress of the house, fell sick. Okay. He grew worse and worse, and finally he died. Then she said to Elijah, "O man of God, what have you done to me? Have you come here to point out my sins and kill my son?" Okay. In 19, and he said unto her, "Give me thy son." And he took him out of her bosom and carried him up into the loft where he abode. Okay. He carried him up the stairs to the room where he was staying. Okay, he was staying with this woman at Zarephath. He was staying with this woman, so he brought the child up to the room where he was staying and laid the body on his bed. Okay, 20. Then Elijah cried out to the Lord, "O Lord my God, why have you brought tragedy to this widow who has opened her home to me, causing her son to die?" And stretched himself over the child 3 times and cried out to the Lord, "O Lord my God, please let this child return to him." Okay. Let this child life return to him. Okay. The Lord heard Elijah's prayers, and the life of the child returned, and he revived. Then Elijah brought him down from the upper room. All right. The room gave him to his mother. "Look," he said, "your son is alive." All right. But Elijah also gave him some type of resuscitation. Understand? Okay, and he stretched out over the child 3 times. Okay, he stretched out over the child 3 times and cried out to the Lord. All right. "Look," he said, "your son is alive." Okay. Okay, so something beautiful, all right, that Elijah had accomplished. Okay, let me see where we want to go from here. Is that alright, and we get deeper into some prophecy about Elijah too. We get down to what is that? That's chapter 18. That's chapter 18, and where Elijah said, "Go and tell your master Elijah's here." All right, to Abadiah, as he was walking suddenly, said to Elijah coming toward him, as he was going to the king, right? And let's go down to 16. Go down to 15. All right, 18 and 15. So this when Elijah confronts Ahab, okay? So we'll start at 8. So Elijah said, "Go and tell your master, O Sar Abadiah." Okay, so yeah, so we get down to 13. So Elijah, we get down to 15 actually. Let's go to 15. So Elijah said, "As the Lord of hosts liveth, before whom I stand, I will surely show myself unto him today." Alright. So Abadiah went to meet Ahab and told him. Alright. And told him Ahab went to meet him. And so Abadiah went to tell Ahab that. When Ahab saw him, he exclaimed, "So it's really you troublemaker of Israel," right? This is what he called Elijah, "You troublemaker of Israel." Alright, "You troublemaker of Israel." He answered, "I have not troubled Israel, but thou and thy father's house. Alright, and ye have forsaken the commandments of the Lord, and thou hast followed Baalim. Now therefore send, gather to me all Israel into Mount Carmel, and the prophets of Baal 450, and the prophets in groves 400, which eat Jezebel's table." Alright. Okay, so he said, I have made no trouble for Israel." Elijah replied, "You and your family are the troublemakers, for you have refused to obey the commands of the Lord, and have worshipped the images of Baal instead. Okay, now summon all of Israel to join me at Mount Carmel, along with 450 prophets of Baal and 300 prophets of Asherah, who were supported by Jezreel." Alright, so Ahab summoned all the people of Israel and the prophets of Mount Carmel. Then Elijah stood in front of them and said, "How much longer will you waver, hobbling between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. Alright, but if Baal is God, then follow him." But the people were completely silent. Then Elijah said, "I am the only prophet. Alright, I am the only prophet of the Lord who is left. Alright, but Baal has 450 prophets. Now bring 2 bulls. Alright, the prophets of Baal may choose whichever they wish. Cut into pieces and lay it on the wood." That's when he talked about the fire. When he sent a response to the fire, then Elijah called into the people, "Come over here." And he showed that our God actually started the fire. Okay, and then Elijah actually killed. Okay, he seized the prophets of Baal. When you get down to 39, seized the prophets of Baal. Then Elijah took them down to Kishon Valley and killed them there. So yeah, so after Elijah proved our God to be true, right? Alright. After he proved our God to be true, then Elijah seized all the prophets of Baal. Don't let a single one escape. Alright, this is in 39. Don't let a single one escape. Okay. Okay, then Elijah commanded, seize all the prophets of Baal, don't let a single one escape. So the people seized them all. Alright, where we at? We in 1840. Alright, people seized them all. Then Elijah took them down to the Kishon Valley and killed all of them there. Okay. Then 41, Elijah prays for rain. And the Lord sends rain. Elijah says to Ahab, okay, go get something to eat and drink, for I hear a mighty rainstorm coming. So Ahab went to eat and something to drink and climbed to the top of Mount Carmel and bowed low to the ground and prayed with his face beneath his wing, between his knees. But Elijah climbed to the top of Mount Carmel and bowed low to the ground and prayed with his face between his knees. Okay, then he said to his servant, go and look out toward the sea. Alright, the servant went out and looked and returned to Ahab and said he don't see none. He told him 7 times. And then he said, I saw a little cloud after the 7th time. Right, after the 7th time, he told him go look 7 times. Okay, and he saw a little cloud about the size of a man's hand rising from the sea. Then Elijah shouted, hurry up and tell Ahab. Alright, and tell him, hurry up to Ahab and tell him, climb into your chariot and go back home. If you don't hurry, the rain will stop you. Alright, so then Ahab ran back home, and basically he told his when he got home, he told Jezebel. He told Jezebel how much Elijah had done, including the way he had killed the 50 prophets. And then Jezebel sent this message to Elijah. Alright, in 19, she sent a message to Elijah saying, message to Elijah saying, so let the gods do to me the more also if I make not in my life. Basically, she promised to kill him. May the gods strike me and even kill me by this same time tomorrow if I haven't killed you just as you killed them. Alright, but then the Lord speaks to Elijah like, Elijah got scared, he ran, he didn't listen to anyone, so the Lord spoke to Elijah. Alright, if you go down to 10. Okay, he lost faith, right? But the Lord said to Elijah, what are you doing here, Elijah? Elijah replied, I have zealously served the Lord God Almighty. Elijah was thinking that her wickedness was from Hawa, right? Was ordained by Hawa, because he was confused at that point. Alright, he was confused because he's a man, so he was confused. Lord Almighty, but the people of Israel have broken their covenant with you, torn down your altars, and killed every one of your prophets. Alright? Every one of your prophets. They have slain every one of your prophets. I am the only one left, and now they are trying to kill me. Alright, this is Israel who worship idols. Alright? And he told him, go out and stand before the mountain. And the Lord told him. And Elijah stood there, and the Lord passed by, and a mighty windstorm hit the mountain, right? It was such a terrible blast that the rocks were torn loose. But the Lord was not in the wind. Alright? After the wind, there was a terrible earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. All right, you go down to 12. The Lord was not in the earthquake, right? And after the earthquake, there was a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. All right, so he's telling you right there, they're making dualities, man. That's not me. Okay? They're making dualities. I ain't in the fire. I ain't in the earthquake. I ain't in the windstorm. Okay? And after the fire, there was a sound of a gentle whisper. When Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his cloak and went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. Alright? And the voice said, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" Okay, he replied again, "I have zealously served the God Almighty, Hawa, but the people of Israel have broken their covenant with you, torn down your altars." Alright, if you look at 14. Okay, so therefore, this problem is with Israel. Okay, as you can see, this problem is with us, man. That's our main objective. This problem with us, through all our prophets, through all our kings. This problem with us. Okay, because we don't unite. All right. I have zealously served the Lord God Almighty, but the people of Israel. Okay, when you look at 14. The children of Israel have broken their covenant with you, torn down your altars, and killed every one of your prophets. Okay, I am the only one left, and now they're trying to kill me. Then the Lord told him, "Go back into the same way you came and travel through the wilderness of Damascus. When you arrive here, anoint Hazael to be king of Aram. Then anoint Jehu, alright, Jehu, son of Nimshi. Alright, Jehu, son of Nimshi. Now we're talking about the Ramoth Gilead. Jehu, the son of Nimshi, to be king of Israel, and appoint Elijah, son of Shaphat, from the town of," now this is Elijah, sorry. Alright, "from the town of Abel, alright, to replace you as my prophet." Alright, so that was prophecy where Elijah told him to replace him with anoint Elijah to be another prophet. Okay, so that's how that Elijah was able to see the first Elijah go up, and like we say, a whirlwind, right? Go up to heaven, alright, or go to heaven, or leave. Just, he knew he left to other lands, he left to another place. Alright, anyone who escapes from Hazael will be killed by Jehu. Alright, anyone who escapes from Hazael, alright, will be killed by Jehu. Alright, so Jehu was the king. Alright. Alright, and the prophet. Alright. And those who escape Jehu will be killed by Elijah. Alright. Yet I will preserve 7,000 others in Israel that have not bowed to Baal or kissed him. Alright. The Most High said, "Yet I will preserve 7,000 Israelites that who have not bowed to Baal," as he says that in Revelations. Alright, and then Ben-Hadad attacks Assyria. Alright, then when you get in chapter 22, we get into the death of Ahab, right? Chapter 22 is the death of Ahab, right? Ahab and the false prophets. So the king of Ahab of Israel and the king of Jehoshaphat of Judah led their armies against Ramoth Gilead. Alright, the king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, as we go into battle, I will disguise myself so no one will recognize me, but you wear your royal robes. So the king of Israel disguised himself, right? And they went into battle. And the king of Israel disguised himself, but the king of Judah wore his robes, right? And anyway, they end up killing Ahab anyway, hitting him with an arrow, man. And then Jehoshaphat rules in Judah, right? That's Joseph, right? Son of Asa, begins to rule. And actually, Jehoshaphat was a good king. All right, following the example of his father Asa, he did what was pleasing in the Lord's sight during his reign. However, he failed to remove all the pagan shrines, and the people still offer sacrifice and burnt incense there. Jehoshaphat made peace with the king of Israel. All right, when Jehoshaphat died, he was buried with his ancestors in the city of David. All right. Then his sons Jehoram became the next king. All right. And Ahaziah ruled in Israel, and Ahaziah did the same thing, what was evil in the sight of the Lord. So as you can see, man, we just kings. We all kings, man. Israel is kings, warring with each other. Okay, warring with each other, man. And the Most High got a plan. He has an outline to straighten it all out. So y'all check out Exodus 33 and 8, the tent of meetings. All right, Numbers 13 and 16, Moses called Hosea, Joshua. All right, and y'all check out the census in Samuel 24. All right, and then when you get over to 1 Kings and 12, you'll see that where he made Rehoboam the king of Judah. All right, that was including Benjamin, and Jeroboam was of the northern tribe. All right, that was the rest of the Israelites, and the Israelites also did wrong in the eyes of the Lord, and Judah did too, but we was promised through David, through that seed of David, in which where these prophets and these kings will come through, and it's a beautiful thing. And you, my king, also can prophesy. All right, all you must do is believe in your Father, your Creator, and you'll be able and believe in your laws that He have left for us. Okay, and it'll prophesy us getting back to the Creator and getting back to alignment and getting back to our kingdom. Okay, it's a beautiful thing. So believe in that seed. All right, and that's just for the naysayers, and to let you know that's what it is the fact that when you go to the scriptures, the New Testament, and you can pull your Hamashiach out of the New Testament. You can pull that line of David. All right. That priest king, that prestor, all right, that prester John, that seer. You can pull your Ruach out of the New Testament now with your third eye open, man. All right, so it's a beautiful thing. So, Shalom, man. When we come back, we're gonna rock out with that with 2 Kings, man, and just it gets a little juicy in there. So, man, we stand humble and we stand true to this law. And we stand true to our Father, Allah. So stay blessed, Baruch. All right.